In the shadows of history, there are monuments that defy explanation, silent witnesses to a past we can barely comprehend. Towering stone walls, intricate carvings, and sprawling ruins built with methods lost to time. Science has tried to unravel their mysteries, but some structures remain untouched by our understanding. What if the ancient world knew something we don't? What if the answers are hidden in plain sight? Join us as we journey through 3 hours of monumental discoveries, unveiling the ancient wonders that still leave us questioning the very limits of human achievement. Are you ready to explore the unknown? Nestled within the arid landscape of northern Peru, surrounded by windswept plains and the occasional desert scrub, lies an ancient structure that has long baffled archaeologists and historians alike. The Huaca del Sol, or Temple of the Sun, rises from the earth as a testament to a forgotten civilization. Built by the Moche people, its colossal walls of mud brick tower over the region, a silent monument to a long-lost world. The size and scale of the structure alone are enough to awe the visitor, yet its very presence raises more questions than answers. At its height, the Huaca del Sol stood over 40 meters tall, one of the largest pre-Columbian structures ever built in the Americas. Its massive adobe bricks, weighing hundreds of pounds, were carefully crafted and arranged into layers, creating an impressive pyramid-like shape that dominates the horizon. The Moche, who flourished in this region from around 100 BC to 800 AD, constructed this temple with precision and purpose, yet the full scope of their intentions remains a mystery. What we do know is that the Huaca del Sol was more than just a monumental building. It was a center of power and ritual, a place where the Moche likely conducted religious ceremonies, perhaps even sacrifices, to honor the gods they believed controlled the forces of nature. Its twin structure, the Huaca de la Luna, Temple of the Moon, which lies a short distance away, suggests a relationship between the two, with the Sun Temple perhaps symbolizing masculine power, and the Moon Temple representing the feminine, though the full meaning of this dichotomy is still a subject of debate. The Huaca del Sol was not merely an artistic achievement, it was also a testament to the Moche people's engineering ingenuity. The mud brick construction method, though seemingly primitive by today's standards, was highly advanced for its time. Yet, it raises further questions. How did the Moche, with their limited resources, create such a structure, and what tools did they use? More intriguingly, how did they design a building so precise that it has endured the ravages of time, the desert winds, and occasional earthquakes? Despite extensive archaeological work, the Huaca del Sol continues to hide its secrets. Excavations over the years have revealed a wealth of artifacts, including intricate pottery, textiles, and even human remains. Some scholars believe the site was a royal burial ground, while others suggest it served as a place of ceremonial offerings to the gods. But the deeper mysteries remain: the exact function of the site, the full extent of the rituals performed there, and perhaps most perplexing of all, the abrupt decline of the Moche civilization itself. Theories abound. Some suggest that the Moche, with their advanced agricultural techniques, were thriving due to their ability to manipulate the landscape and harness water sources in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Others, however, propose that the Moche civilization fell victim to a series of natural catastrophes, droughts, floods, and earthquakes, that eventually led to its collapse. Could the destruction of the Huaca del Sol itself have been a symbolic representation of this downfall, a reflection of the Moche's inability to control the forces they once believed were in their power? Yet, not all explanations are so straightforward. Some even speculate that the temple was not merely a product of earthly concerns, but was built in alignment with celestial patterns, perhaps as an instrument to communicate with the heavens, guiding the movements of stars or the rising of the sun itself. Did the Moche possess knowledge of astronomical principles that we have yet to fully comprehend? Was the Huaca del Sol a giant calendar, a cosmic instrument designed to align with the rhythms of the universe. As time has passed, the Huaca del Sol has slowly eroded. Decades of looting and the harsh desert climate have taken their toll, leaving the structure in a fragile state. Yet, despite these challenges, the temple stands defiantly, inviting new generations of researchers and explorers to unravel its mysteries. What truths still lie buried beneath the sands, hidden from the eyes of those who seek to understand? The Moche may be long gone, but their legacy remains embedded in the earth itself, silent and enigmatic. What they believed, what they knew, and what they hoped to achieve with such monumental structures still eludes us. Perhaps, just as the Huaca del Sol has endured the passage of centuries, so too will its mysteries endure. And, as we continue to explore and examine its remains, the question remains: what else might we uncover, waiting to be revealed in the dust of time? As we leave behind the arid deserts of northern Peru and journey across the vast expanses of the Mediterranean, we arrive at another enigmatic site, a place where the whispers of the past linger in the stone and earth. Nestled on the rugged island of Minorca, part of the Balearic archipelago, lies Talatí de Dalt, a site that has puzzled historians, archaeologists, and explorers for centuries. Just as the Huaca del Sol stood as a testament to the mysterious Moche civilization, so too does Talatí de Dalt hold its own secrets, wrapped in the weathered stones of an ancient civilization long gone. At first glance, Talatí de Dalt may seem like nothing more than a collection of weathered stone walls, circular structures, and forgotten paths winding through the sparse vegetation of Minorca's dry landscape. But upon closer inspection, something much more profound begins to emerge. The site is part of the ancient Talaiotic culture, which thrived on the island around 1000 BC to 300 BC. What makes Talatí de Dalt especially intriguing, however, is the sheer mystery surrounding its purpose and the people who built it. Unlike other ancient structures, its function is far from clear. Was it a settlement, a ceremonial center, or something else entirely, a place of ritual and significance beyond our understanding? The site is dominated by its largest structure, the so-called Tala, a monumental stone formation that resembles an inverted T-shape with a horizontal stone slab resting atop two vertical columns. The Tala is the defining feature of the Talaiotic architectural tradition, found in varying forms across the island, but here at Talatí de Dalt, it stands out, both for its size and its precision. It's a remarkable feat, especially considering the tools available to the builders at the time. Yet even more intriguing is the question, why build something so grand, something so carefully constructed, with no known written records to explain its purpose? Like many ancient sites, the theories about Talatí de Dalt are as varied as they are numerous. Mainstream scholars believe that it was part of a larger settlement, perhaps a place of communal living, where the Talaiotic people gathered, traded, and worshipped. The layout of the site suggests a certain degree of social organization, with separate spaces for different activities. However, the presence of the Taula and other features like the semi-subterranean chambers and the curious arrangement of stones raises questions that remain unanswered. Could the Taula have served as a ceremonial altar, perhaps used in rites dedicated to the island's gods or to the forces of nature that govern the lives of the Talaiotic people? We know that other similar structures across Minorca are thought to have had religious or ritualistic significance. The mystery deepens when we consider that the alignment of many of the Taulas seems to be tied to astronomical events, such as the solstices and equinoxes. Was Talatí de Dalt an observatory, a place where ancient people tracked the movements of the sun and stars to guide their agricultural practices or religious observances? Perhaps, however, the answer is more elusive than any of these explanations. Some fringe theories suggest that the Talaiotic people possessed knowledge far ahead of their time, knowledge of architecture and geometry, perhaps even lost sciences. Could they have understood principles of acoustics, or the way sound travels through the environment in specific formations? Could the tala, with its large, flat stone surfaces, have been used for some form of sound-based ritual, perhaps a form of ancient communication or spiritual invocation? The thought is tantalizing, though difficult to substantiate with the evidence at hand. Equally puzzling is the absence of significant burial sites at Talatí de Dalt. While burial sites are common at many ancient settlements, the lack of known graves here adds another layer of mystery to the site's role in the Talaiotic culture. Was this place meant solely for the living, a center for worship and community? Or did the people of Talatí de Dalt follow a different burial custom, one that has yet to be uncovered by modern archaeology? The sheer scale of the stonework at Talatí de Dalt also raises questions about the technological capabilities of the Talaiotic people. How did they transport and position such massive stones without the advanced tools we take for granted today? Was there an unknown method of construction, perhaps a lost technique, or one so simple that it remains hidden in plain sight? The precision with which the stones are arranged suggests a level of craftsmanship that challenges our understanding of ancient engineering. And then there is the matter of the surrounding landscape. Talatí de Dalt is situated on a hill, offering sweeping views of the surrounding countryside and coastline. Was the location chosen for its strategic value, perhaps to defend the inhabitants from invaders, or did it hold a deeper, more symbolic meaning? In many ancient cultures, high places were believed to be closer to the gods, offering a connection between the earthly and the divine. Could the choice of this location reflect a desire to be nearer to the heavens, as the Talaiotic people sought to align themselves with forces greater than themselves? Despite decades of excavation and study, many of the questions surrounding Talatí de Dalt remain unanswered. The stone structures stand as silent witnesses to a world that has long faded from memory, yet the mystery of their purpose endures. Was it a simple settlement, a place for everyday life? Or did it have a much greater significance, one that we have yet to uncover? What remains hidden beneath the surface, just beyond the reach of modern science and understanding? As we look back at the stones of Talatí de Dalt, we are reminded that not all mysteries can be solved in a lifetime, or perhaps ever. And so, we are left to wonder, what secrets might still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to search, to dig, and to listen? As we leave behind the windswept hills of Minorca and travel across the oceans to the heart of ancient Mesoamerica, we encounter another mysterious site, one that has silently stood at the edge of history, its secrets obscured by time. Cuicuilco, with its circular pyramid, is a place that beckons us to reconsider the limits of what we know about the early civilizations of the Americas. Located on the southern fringes of what is now Mexico City, this site offers a glimpse into a world that flourished long before the rise of the Aztecs or the Maya, a world that remains largely veiled in uncertainty. The Cuicuilco circular pyramid is an extraordinary structure, one that is as intriguing for its design as it is for its mysterious disappearance. Unlike the towering pyramids of Egypt or the step pyramids of Mesopotamia, the pyramid at Cuicuilco is circular, an unusual shape for a Mesoamerican structure. Standing about 20 meters tall, it was once the center of a thriving settlement, its grandeur marked by the symmetry and scale that speak to the advanced architectural capabilities of its creators. But as we take in the grandeur of the pyramid, a question looms large. What could have driven these early people to build such a monumental yet curiously shaped structure? And why did it fall into obscurity, its significance nearly forgotten? The pyramid, built during the pre-classic period, around 1000 BC to 100 BC, was part of a larger complex that included plazas, residential areas, and a network of pathways that connected different parts of the settlement. Archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts around the site, from pottery to figurines, suggesting that Cuicuilco was not just a center for religious or ceremonial purposes, but a thriving community with a rich cultural life. Yet, the circular shape of the pyramid stands out. While Mesoamerican cultures later built step pyramids, the circular design at Cuicuilco is unique and has puzzled researchers for decades. Some have suggested that the shape could be symbolic, perhaps representing the cycles of the sun or the movement of celestial bodies, both of which were central to Mesoamerican beliefs. Could the circle have been an attempt to mirror the heavens, a representation of the cosmic order they believed governed their world? The circular form may have been an expression of harmony, a visual metaphor for the eternal flow of time. After all, the Mesoamerican calendar, which relied heavily on the movements of the sun and the stars, was a core element of their society. Could the pyramid's design have been a way to physically embody this belief system? If so, could it have been more than just a monument? Could it have served as an astronomical observatory, aligning with the celestial bodies in ways that are still unknown to us? Yet, as we ponder the symbolism of Cuicuilco, we are confronted with another mystery, the dramatic end of the settlement. Unlike many ancient cities, which fade slowly over time, Cuicuilco was abruptly abandoned. The most widely accepted explanation for this sudden departure is the eruption of the nearby Sitlu volcano, which occurred around 300 BC. The eruption, which buried large parts of the city in volcanic ash, may have forced its inhabitants to flee, leaving the circular pyramid to stand empty, its purpose lost to the ash and time. But could there have been other factors at play in the collapse of Cuicuilco? Was the eruption merely a catalyst for a larger social, political, or environmental upheaval? There is another layer to this mystery that cannot be ignored: the rise of the nearby Teotihuacan civilization. After the fall of Cuicuilco, Teotihuacan emerged as one of the most powerful cities in the region, and its own pyramids, particularly the Pyramid of the Sun, bore striking similarities to the structures at Cuicuilco. Was Teotihuacan influenced by Cuicuilco, or was there a direct connection between the two? Some researchers have even suggested that the decline of Cuicuilco could have been a contributing factor in the rise of Teotihuacan, with its former inhabitants seeking refuge in the larger, more powerful city. Others wonder if the people of Cuicuilco had a lasting cultural impact on the Teotihuacan civilization. Could the design of the Teotihuacan pyramids have been inspired by Cuicuilco's circular form? The resemblance is striking, yet the full extent of the connection remains unclear. And then there is the question of why Cuicuilco itself remains so obscure in the annals of history. Why, after centuries of exploration, does this site remain less well known than other Mesoamerican wonders? Is it because of its destruction by volcanic ash? Or is there something more at play here? Perhaps a concerted effort to obscure the past? Could the story of Cuicuilco have been deliberately erased, its secrets buried not only by lava but by those who wish to rewrite history? Even as modern archaeology continues to reveal new layers of Cuicuilco, many questions remain. The site has been subject to extensive study, but the reasons behind its circular pyramid, its sudden abandonment, and its connection, or lack thereof, to the later civilizations of the region are still debated. We have discovered much, but much still eludes us. Perhaps in the quiet ruins of Cuicuilco, we are left with an important lesson. Some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. The pyramid, with its enigmatic circular shape and its enduring silence, invites us to consider the possibility that we may never fully understand the people who built it or the meaning they assigned to it. Could there still be hidden chambers beneath the earth, or forgotten scrolls that have yet to be discovered? What, if anything, remains to be revealed in the ashes of Cuicuilco, still waiting to whisper its secrets to those willing to listen? The answers may be beyond our reach, but the mystery remains, compelling, timeless, and ever elusive. As we leave the volcanic landscapes of Cuicuilco behind, we travel to a land where ancient ruins rise from the earth, surrounded by the rolling hills and rugged plains of central Turkey. Here, in the heart of Anatolia, lies Hattusa, the once great capital of the Hittite Empire. It is a site shrouded in mystery, where monumental stone walls, massive gates, and colossal structures speak to a civilization that flourished over 3,000 years ago, only to disappear without a trace. Among the ruins of Hattusa, one feature stands out: its Cyclopean walls. These immense, perfectly fitted stones, so large and heavy that modern engineers would struggle to move them, seem to defy explanation. The Cyclopean walls of Hattusa are some of the most striking and perplexing elements of this ancient city. Built from massive blocks of limestone, many weighing several tons, the walls are so tightly fitted that not even a knife blade could slide between the stones. Standing at over 10 meters in height in some places, they create a formidable barrier, encircling the city with their sheer size and strength. Yet, as we look upon these walls, the question remains: how were these colossal stones, some weighing as much as 20 tons, transported and precisely placed into position by a civilization that, by all accounts, lacked the advanced tools and machinery we take for granted today? The Hittites, who occupied this region from around 1600 BC to 1200 BC, were known for their military prowess, advanced chariotry, and diplomatic acumen. They carved their place in history as one of the great powers of the ancient Near East, yet much about their construction methods, particularly the creation of the Cyclopean walls, remains a mystery. How could a civilization, even one as powerful as the Hittites, manage to cut, transport, and position such massive stones without the use of cranes, pulleys, or other modern technologies? Mainstream historians and archaeologists have long suggested that the Cyclopean walls were constructed through the use of primitive tools such as levers, ramps, and ropes. These methods would have been labor-intensive and required a large, skilled workforce. Yet, even with this explanation, there are still unanswered questions. The stones are so large and so perfectly fitted that it seems almost impossible for the Hittites to have achieved such precision with their rudimentary tools. Could there have been other methods at play, ones that we have yet to discover or fully understand? One popular theory proposes that the Hittites possessed a deeper understanding of engineering than we give them credit for. Some researchers have speculated that they may have used advanced construction techniques that have been lost to time, possibly involving some form of hydraulic or mechanical assistance. Could there have been a sophisticated system of pulleys and counterweights hidden in the walls themselves, making use of gravity to position the stones? Or perhaps they employed a technique involving water to soften the stones, making them easier to shape and move, something akin to the ancient methods used by the Egyptians in their pyramid construction. But if such methods existed, why has no evidence of them been found at Hattusa? Another theory, which strays into more speculative territory, suggests that the Hittites may have had access to knowledge that has since been lost. Could they have had advanced tools or techniques that were so far ahead of their time that we cannot comprehend them? Perhaps there is an even older tradition of construction, a forgotten art passed down from even earlier civilizations, that allowed the Hittites to build such colossal structures with seemingly primitive resources. Some have even suggested the possibility of an ancient lost technology, something akin to what we might think of as anti-gravity or other means of lifting heavy stones with ease, though this remains purely speculative. The Cyclopean walls are not the only mystery surrounding Hattusa. Within the city's labyrinthine streets and its impressive gates, archaeologists have uncovered numerous other features that hint at a civilization with extraordinary capabilities. The city was once surrounded by a massive outer wall, stretching over 6 kilometers in length, with multiple gates, each more imposing than the last. The most famous of these is the Lion Gate, named for the 2 large lion sculptures that stand guard on either side. These lions, carved from stone, are a testament to the Hittites' artistic skills and their ability to work in monumental scale, but they also add to the air of mystery surrounding the site. Why were these lions placed at the entrance? Were they meant to serve as protectors, warding off intruders? Or did they have a more symbolic role, perhaps as guardians of the threshold between the mortal world and the divine? As we explore Hattusa, we are confronted with yet another riddle: the sudden disappearance of the Hittite civilization. Around 1200 BC, the city was abandoned, seemingly overnight. The Cyclopean walls stood empty, and the once great capital was left to the ravages of time. The reasons for the fall of the Hittites remain unclear. Was it a result of invasion, perhaps by the mysterious sea peoples who ravaged much of the ancient world during this period? Or did internal strife, economic collapse, or environmental factors contribute to the fall of this once powerful empire? While mainstream historians point to a combination of these factors, the suddenness of the collapse leaves many questions unanswered. Could there be something more to the story? Was the destruction of Hattusa part of a larger, more complex series of events, one that we have yet to fully understand? Some suggest that the Hittites' mastery over their Cyclopean construction might have been a double-edged sword. While their remarkable engineering feats may have made them powerful, they also left behind a civilization vulnerable to forces beyond their control. Did their immense walls, for all their grandeur, fail to protect them when the time came? As we stand among the ruins of Hattusa, it is impossible not to wonder, what else remains hidden beneath the earth, locked in the stones of this ancient city? What truths about the Hittites and their Cyclopean walls, their lost technology, and their sudden fall are still waiting to be uncovered? Perhaps, like the pyramids of Egypt or the ruins of Cuicuilco, the answers lie beyond our reach, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves, just as the stones of Hattusa have remained steadfast, silent, and enduring for thousands of years. As we leave behind the ancient walls of Hattusa, where colossal stones stand like silent sentinels to a lost civilization, we journey across the Mediterranean to the island of Malta, an enigmatic land steeped in layers of history that stretch back millennia. Here, amid the rocky hills and sun-bleached earth, stands a structure that has confounded researchers for centuries: the Tal-Qadi Temple. It is a site that, despite being relatively small compared to the monumental ruins we've encountered so far, carries with it an aura of mystery, drawing us into a web of unanswered questions about ancient rituals, beliefs, and knowledge that seem beyond the reach of modern understanding. The Tal-Qadi Temple is located in the northern part of Malta, nestled in the valley of the same name. Surrounded by the rugged landscape of the island, this megalithic temple stands as one of the earliest and most intriguing sites from the prehistoric temple period of Maltese history, which spanned from around 3600 BC to 2500 BC. The temple's design, though less grandiose than the more famous megalithic temples of Malta, such as Hal Saflieni Hypogeum or Menadra, is nonetheless captivating. Built using large limestone blocks, the structure's precise and methodical construction hints at an advanced knowledge of engineering and craftsmanship. But it is not the size of the temple that raises the most questions. Rather, it is the purpose of the temple and the people who built it that remain shrouded in mystery. At first glance, the Tal-Qadi Temple may appear to be just another megalithic site, but a closer inspection reveals that it is subtly different from other similar structures on the island. Its layout consists of a series of large, semicircular and rectangular enclosures, suggesting that the temple was used for some kind of communal activity or ritual. The presence of an open-air courtyard, surrounded by stone walls and aligned with the landscape, implies that the people who built the temple may have used the space for astronomical or religious purposes. In fact, it is not unusual to find that many megalithic sites across Malta exhibit alignments with celestial events such as the solstices or equinoxes. Was the Tal-Qadi Temple also designed to track the movements of the sun or stars? Did its builders, like many other ancient cultures, look to the heavens for guidance? This idea of a cosmic connection is further reinforced by the presence of a large stone slab near the entrance of the temple, which some believe may have served as a kind of altar or sacrificial table. The positioning of this slab, along with the size and arrangement of the surrounding megaliths, raises the possibility that this temple was a site for rituals intended to honor or communicate with the gods, perhaps gods associated with fertility, the sun, or the earth. The Tal-Qadi Temple may have been a place where the cyclical rhythms of nature were celebrated, and where the changing of seasons and the cycles of life were observed in sacred ceremonies. Yet, even with this basic understanding, the Tal-Qadi Temple holds on to its secrets. The mystery deepens when we consider the overall lack of documentation about the people who built it. The temple period is generally associated with the Maltese temple builders, a culture that is not clearly linked to any other known civilization in the ancient world. While the temple builders left behind intricate stone carvings, statues, and figurines, many of which depict voluptuous female forms believed to represent fertility deities, there is no written record of their existence or their beliefs. How, then, did these early Maltese people, who are believed to have lived in relative isolation on the island, develop such advanced skills in construction and astronomy? And why do we find so many temples across the island, scattered as if the builders were compelled to create sacred spaces in every corner of their world? Mainstream archaeological explanations point to the idea that the Tal-Qadi Temple was part of a larger, island-wide religious and cultural movement. But some scholars argue that there might be something deeper at play. Could the temple, and others like it, be a remnant of a much older, pre-agricultural civilization? One that had already mapped the stars and built sophisticated structures long before the mainstream rise of agriculture and settlement patterns across Europe? This idea challenges the conventional understanding of prehistoric development, suggesting that the temple builders might have had access to knowledge or technologies that we have yet to fully understand or explain. Another intriguing theory centers around the question of the temple's purpose. While mainstream explanations suggest that Tal-Qadi was a place for religious worship, some researchers have posited a more speculative idea, that the temple could have been a site for energy manipulation or even a kind of ancient power station. The large stones used in its construction, combined with the precise alignment of the temple, have led some to suggest that the structure may have been designed to harness the natural forces of the earth, be it through geomagnetic properties or other energies that we are only beginning to understand. Could the people who built the Tal-Qadi Temple have known how to use the Earth's magnetic fields or its energy grids to perform rituals or healings? The idea is far from mainstream, but the temple's very existence, without clear explanation, leaves room for such questions to be asked. And then there's the puzzling absence of other remains that might give us more clues about the temple's use. Unlike some other temples on the island, Tal-Qadi has not yielded a wealth of artifacts, such as pottery, tools, or offerings, that might shed light on its purpose. This absence raises further questions. Was the site deliberately abandoned, perhaps to be preserved as a sacred space for some future time? Or was there a more catastrophic reason for its desertion? The temple builders are believed to have disappeared around 2500 BC, but what caused their sudden departure remains an open question. Could Tal-Qadi be a monument to a civilization that knew its time was coming to an end? Or was it perhaps abandoned because its purpose had been fulfilled, and its builders moved on to something even greater? What's most striking about Tal-Qadi, however, is the way in which it stands as a reminder of how much we still have left to discover. The stones, weathered by millennia of wind and rain, hold more than just the memory of a vanished people. They hold questions that we are only beginning to explore. What was the deeper meaning behind this temple? And what did its creators believe about the world, the stars, and their place in the universe? As we look at the stones of Tal-Qadi, we are left with the knowledge that, just like the ancient builders, the answers may lie just beyond our reach, buried in time, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. In the silence of Tal-Qadi, we are reminded that the mysteries of the past are not always meant to be solved quickly. Some may remain veiled forever, inviting us to wonder what ancient knowledge still remains hidden beneath the earth, waiting for those who dare to ask the right questions. As we journey through the quiet echoes of Tal-Qadi and the ancient megaliths of Malta, we now find ourselves off the coast of France, on the island of Gavrinis in the Morbihan Gulf. Here, beneath the weathered stones of an enigmatic passage tomb, lies a mystery that has persisted for over 5,000 years. The Gavrinis passage tomb is a site that captures the imagination, not only for its construction, but also for the art and rituals it might have concealed. Its passageways, its intricate carvings, and its enigmatic purpose remain a focal point of study and speculation, drawing us into the heart of prehistoric spirituality and the unknown. At first glance, the tomb seems like little more than a mound of stone, nestled in the natural landscape, blending seamlessly with the surrounding terrain. But once you step closer, the enormity of its significance becomes apparent. The structure, dating back to around 3,300 BC, is a passage tomb, a type of burial site common in Neolithic Europe. However, the tomb at Gavrinis is no ordinary burial site. Its precise construction, its well-planned design, and the mystery of the people who built it set it apart from others of its kind. The tomb consists of a narrow, long passage leading into a central chamber, all of which is enclosed by a tumulus, an earthen mound. The passageway is lined with massive stone slabs, and it leads to a vaulted chamber where it is believed that the remains of the dead were placed. Yet, what makes Gavrinis especially intriguing is what lies on these stones. The walls of the passage and the tomb chamber are covered in intricate carvings, featuring abstract motifs, spirals, and geometric patterns. These markings have puzzled researchers for generations. What do they represent? Are they symbolic, or do they serve some functional purpose, perhaps guiding the souls of the dead toward the afterlife? Or were they a way to mark the tomb itself, turning it into a spiritual beacon for the living? The carvings themselves, which can be found on over 30 of the stones, seem to tell a story that we can only partially understand. Spirals, meanders, and motifs resembling the shapes of labyrinths, some of them exceptionally detailed, appear repeatedly, making it clear that the people who built the tomb held these symbols in high regard. But why did they carve these shapes into the stones, and what were they trying to communicate? Are these just abstract expressions of artistic desire, or were they embedded with deeper meaning? Perhaps a connection to celestial patterns, to the changing of seasons, or to a world view that saw the cycle of life and death as an interconnected whole. Some researchers have suggested that the carvings represent a symbolic map, possibly charting the heavens or the path of the sun. Could the spirals and meanders be a reflection of the cosmic order, guiding the soul's journey toward the afterlife? These motifs, found on tombs across Neolithic Europe, are also prevalent in other ancient sites where death and the afterlife were central to religious beliefs. The tomb at Gavrinis, then, might not just have been a burial place, but an astral observatory, pointing not only to the cycles of the earth, but to the movements of the stars, perhaps offering clues to the passage of time, to the rhythms of nature, or even to the journey of the soul. But the mystery deepens when we consider the precision with which the tomb was constructed. The stones that line the passageway are massive, some weighing several tons. How did the builders, with their rudimentary tools, manage to transport, shape, and arrange such enormous blocks of stone? Did they use ramps, sledges, or perhaps an advanced understanding of leverage to manipulate the stones into place? And what was the purpose behind this colossal effort? Why invest so much labor into a burial site? Was it just for the deceased? Or was the tomb also an expression of communal identity, a focal point for the living, perhaps a way to perpetuate cultural and spiritual values for generations to come? The fact that the tomb was deliberately placed on Gavrinis Island raises even more questions. The island is isolated, its natural terrain difficult to navigate, making it seem unlikely that the builders would choose such a remote location unless they had some special significance attached to it. Could the island have been considered sacred, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thinner, a natural point of connection with the divine? Was it located here because of its alignment with celestial bodies, or because it was seen as a liminal space, a place between the earthly and the spiritual realms? Perhaps the builders believed that the island, with its isolation, would serve as a bridge to the afterlife, a transition space where the deceased could cross over. Despite decades of research, much about the Gavrinis Passage tomb remains enigmatic. While it is widely accepted that the tomb was used for burials, what we do not know is who the people were who built it. Were they the ancestors of the later Celtic civilizations, or did they belong to an entirely different cultural tradition? Were they the same people who constructed the other monumental tombs scattered across Europe? Or were they part of a separate, even older culture whose knowledge was lost over time? And how did these people acquire the skills and knowledge necessary to build such a complex and precise structure, given that they lived in an age long before written records? Theories abound. Some suggest that the tomb's purpose might have been entirely symbolic, a representation of death and rebirth, a reflection of the cyclical nature of life itself. Others speculate that the tomb was used in ancestor worship, with the carvings symbolizing a connection between the living and the dead, a way for the builders to commune with their ancestors and ensure their spiritual guidance. Another theory, which remains highly speculative, is that the tomb may have had some connection to the stars, a possible link to the broader network of megalithic sites across Europe that seem to share a common interest in celestial events and cosmic cycles. Could the tomb at Gavrinis be part of a larger network of sacred sites designed to track the heavens and mark the changing of the seasons? As we examine the Gavrinis Passage tomb, we are confronted with a structure that continues to guard its secrets. The carvings, the alignment, the symbolism, all point to a deeper understanding of the cosmos, of life, and of death. But we are still left to wonder, was this tomb a site of purely earthly ritual, or was it part of a much more complex, possibly even cosmic worldview? What role did the tomb play in the lives of those who built it, and what can we still learn from the stones that remain? In the quiet of the tomb, the spirals seem to whisper of something lost to time, inviting us to look deeper, to listen more closely. What knowledge, what connection to the past might still be hidden in the stone and earth, waiting to be uncovered? And as the tides of time roll on, how much more will we learn about the sacred sites that shape our understanding of the distant past? As we leave behind the awe-inspiring Gavrinis Passage tomb and continue our exploration of ancient sites that seem to defy explanation, we find ourselves on the Iberian Peninsula in the province of Valencia, Spain. Here, hidden among the rugged hills and dense forests, stands the Dolmen de la Pastora, a megalithic structure that carries with it an aura of mystery and timelessness. Like the passage tombs of Europe, this dolmen was built by a people who left no written records, no clear explanations of their beliefs or intentions. Yet, in its massive stones and eerie silence, the Dolmen de la Pastora whispers of an ancient world, one where the line between the living and the dead may have been seen as far less distinct than it is today. At first glance, the dolmen might seem like a simple structure, a large rectangular chamber made of large stones, covered by a massive capstone. But as with many ancient monuments, it is the details, the subtlety of the design, and the setting that raise questions. The dolmen, like many of its kind, is part of a burial tradition that dates back to the Bronze Age, somewhere around 2000 BC to 1500 BC. It is one of many similar structures scattered across the Iberian Peninsula, yet this particular dolmen stands out due to its size, its strategic location, and its sense of isolation. Positioned atop a hill with sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, the dolmen appears deliberately placed, as if it were intended to overlook the world below, or perhaps to align with celestial events that were of particular importance to its builders. The structure itself is an example of a type of burial chamber known as a megalithic dolmen. These tombs, made of large stone slabs, were typically used by ancient cultures to house the remains of the deceased, often in a communal burial. The Dolmen de la Pastora is no exception. Inside the chamber, archaeologists have uncovered human remains and various grave goods, artifacts that offer a glimpse into the beliefs and customs of the people who built it. However, unlike other similar sites, the dolmen's massive capstone, estimated to weigh over 20 tons, raises more questions than answers. How did these early people, with their rudimentary tools, manage to transport and position such immense stones with such precision? What kind of knowledge did they possess, and how did they come to acquire it? The precise techniques used in dolmen construction have long been a subject of speculation. Mainstream archaeology suggests that the stones were moved using simple tools, levers, and wooden sledges. But even with these explanations, the sheer scale of the undertaking raises doubts. The logistics of moving stones weighing tens of tons across uneven terrain and then placing them with such accuracy seems almost beyond the capabilities of a Bronze Age society. Could there have been techniques or tools lost to time, ones that we have yet to discover? Or did these ancient builders possess knowledge that was far more advanced than we give them credit for? Theories about the dolmen's construction and purpose range from the practical to the speculative. Many scholars agree that the structure was used for ritual purposes, likely as a tomb for important members of society. The presence of grave goods, such as pottery and tools, suggests that the deceased were honored with offerings meant to accompany them into the afterlife. But what of the larger purpose of the site? Why was it built with such care and attention to detail? And why did its creators choose such a dramatic location atop a hill, where it could be seen for miles in every direction? Was it simply the place of burial? Or did the dolmen serve as a symbolic marker of something greater? A way to bridge the world of the living and the dead, or a monument to a spiritual belief system that transcended the physical realm? Some researchers suggest that the Dolmen de la Pastora may have had astronomical significance. Its alignment with the horizon and the way the landscape unfolds around it hints at a possible connection to celestial events, perhaps the rising and setting of the sun during specific times of the year, or the movement of the stars. Could the dolmen have been used as an ancient observatory, a way to mark the passage of time or the changing seasons? The idea that these ancient peoples might have had a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos is not far-fetched. Other megalithic sites across Europe, like Stonehenge, have shown clear evidence of astronomical alignment, and it's possible that the builders of the Dolmen de la Pastora were using the structure for similar purposes, charting the heavens, marking solstices, equinoxes, or the cycles of the moon. Could the dolmen, in its location and design, be a direct reflection of the people's understanding of the universe and their place within it? Yet even with these theories, the Dolmen de la Pastora remains enigmatic. The carvings on the stones are minimal, offering little in the way of direct clues. Unlike other megalithic tombs, which feature intricate carvings or symbols, this dolmen's stones are plain, adding to its sense of austerity and mystery. Were the builders of the dolmen uninterested in leaving symbolic marks, or did they choose not to for reasons we cannot comprehend? Or perhaps the dolmen's very simplicity is part of its mystery. Was it intended to be a place of quiet reverence, a monument to a belief system that required no elaborate symbols or embellishments to be understood? Moreover, the location of the dolmen raises more questions. Positioned on a hill with wide-ranging views, it seems intentionally chosen. Was it built in such a location to make it visible to all who passed by, a marker of some societal importance? Or was it designed to be viewed only by the initiates, those who were part of the ritual ceremonies conducted there? Did the builders intend the dolmen to be a site of pilgrimage, where the living could commune with the deceased? Or was it a symbol of something greater, a connection to the divine? Some have even speculated that the dolmen was not just a place of burial, but a ceremonial center for a larger community, one where life and death, the terrestrial and the celestial, were intertwined in ritual and observance. Could the dolmen have been a place where people gathered, not just to honor the dead, but to engage in ceremonies designed to harness the natural forces around them? Was it a spiritual center that drew people from across the land, united by a shared belief in the power of the earth and the cosmos? As we stand before the Dolmen de la Pastora, we are left with more questions than answers. The purpose of the dolmen, the knowledge of the people who built it, and the significance of its location and design remain a mystery. Was it simply a burial site? Or was it something much more? Was it a tomb, a place of spiritual connection, or a monument to a deeper cosmic understanding? Like so many other ancient structures, it remains a quiet testament to the ingenuity and mystery of those who came before us, a puzzle that continues to elude the full reach of modern science. And as we walk away, we can only wonder, what other hidden truths lie within the stones, waiting to be discovered, and what ancient wisdom remains locked in the quiet stillness of the past? As we leave behind the enigmatic Dolmen de la Pastora, a burial monument that seems to speak only in whispers, we turn our attention once again to the heart of ancient Europe. There, nestled in the Spanish countryside, we find yet another megalithic wonder, the Tholos of El Romeral, a quiet and isolated site. This ancient structure is part of a series of Tholos tombs scattered across the Iberian Peninsula, yet it stands out for its intricate design and its intriguing connection to the past, a past we are still only beginning to understand. The Tholos of El Romeral is not just another burial chamber. It is a testament to the advanced engineering and spiritual depth of its builders, who lived around 2000 BC to 1500 BC. During the Late Bronze Age. Located near the town of Antequera in southern Spain, this Tholos tomb is remarkably well preserved. Standing at the center of a mound, it is composed of large stone blocks arranged in a circular pattern, culminating in a beautifully vaulted ceiling. The tomb structure, which resembles a beehive in its form, is known as a corbelled dome, a remarkable feat of ancient engineering. The precision with which these stones were placed without the use of mortar raises immediate questions. How did these ancient people manage to create such a perfect, self-supporting roof? And what was the purpose of this elaborate structure? The Tholos itself is a breathtaking sight. As you approach, the passageway leads you into a narrow corridor, flanked by towering stones, each one intricately set in place. Once inside, you are met with the chamber's remarkable vault. The structure is entirely circular, with a hollow interior that would have been filled with the remains of the deceased and their accompanying grave goods. The smoothness and coherence of the design, despite its age, suggest a level of craftsmanship that goes beyond the expectations of the era. But while the builder's technical ability is evident, the purpose of the Tholos and its connection to the people who created it remain far from clear. The tomb is one of the many megalithic tombs found throughout southern Spain, part of the larger Antequera complex, which includes the Dolmen of Menga and the Vieira Dolmen. These structures have long been a source of fascination for archaeologists, as they represent one of the most significant burial practices in the ancient Mediterranean world. The tombs are believed to have been used for collective burials, but what sets the Tholos of El Romeral apart from others is its alignment with the landscape. The tomb is situated at a strategic point where it overlooks the surrounding plains, a position that suggests a symbolic or ritual significance. Was the placement of the tomb intended to mark a sacred space, visible from the land and sky alike, creating a link between the earth and the heavens? Or was it, as some believe, aligned with celestial events, perhaps functioning as a kind of astronomical observatory, tracking the sun, moon, or stars? The presence of the Tholos at this particular location raises another set of questions. In many cultures, tombs and burial sites were placed with great care, often linked to natural landmarks or sacred geographical features. The Tholos of El Romeral stands at the foot of the El Torcal mountain range, a landscape known for its dramatic limestone formations. Could the tomb's positioning have had symbolic significance? Did the builders see the mountains, the surrounding land, or even the sky above as an essential part of the ritual process? The notion that these tombs could have been a tool for linking the mortal realm with the divine is a theory that continues to resonate. Could this site have been intended not only for the dead, but for the living as well? Perhaps a place for the community to perform rituals or offerings to the gods, or to honor ancestors. Though many scholars agree that the Tholos tomb served as a burial site, the exact purpose of the structure remains elusive. Some believe that the tombs were built to honor important figures, while others suggest that they were a way of consolidating power, a method by which the living could solidify their place in the spiritual order by burying their leaders or ancestors in elaborate symbolic structures. But the scale and complexity of the Tholos of El Romeral hint at a deeper connection between architecture, ritual, and astronomy. There is another intriguing element to the Tholos of El Romeral that cannot be ignored: its relationship to other ancient structures in the region. The entire Antikythera region is known for its megalithic sites, and many of these structures, tombs, dolmens, and ceremonial sites, are aligned with one another in ways that suggest deliberate planning. Could these monuments, including the Tholos of El Romeral, have been part of a larger, region-wide network of sacred sites? Were these structures created as part of an ancient system of ritual geography, designed to draw together disparate communities or connect them with the cosmos? What does the positioning of these tombs, some of which align with astronomical events like the solstices, reveal about the worldviews of the people who constructed them? Mainstream archaeology suggests that these sites were used for funerary and ritual purposes as part of a collective burial tradition. However, there are those who speculate that these tombs, including the Tholos of El Romeral, might have served a more complex role. Could they have functioned as part of an ancient calendar system, tracking the passage of time through the movement of the sun or stars? The Tholos of El Romeral itself, with its celestial alignments, may have been designed to mark significant events in the natural world, with the changing of seasons, the cycle of the moon, or the path of the stars taking on symbolic meaning. Was it possible that the builders had an understanding of the natural world far beyond what we have attributed to them? Yet, even as these theories arise, the true purpose of the Tholos of El Romeral remains a mystery. What we do know is that the tomb, with its perfectly constructed stonework and its strategic placement, stands as a powerful reminder of an ancient belief system that transcends the simple act of burial. The structure serves as both a marker of the past and a symbol of the living connection between people, land, and cosmos. It offers us a glimpse into a worldview where death was not just an end, but a transformation, a continuation of life through the cycle of the earth and sky. As we stand before the Tholos of El Romeral, we are confronted with more questions than answers. The purpose of this ancient tomb, the knowledge of the people who built it, and the relationship between the living and the dead in their culture remain elusive. Was it a place of burial, a place of ritual, a connection to the heavens? Or was it something even more profound, a site that merged all of these elements into one? The answers may be hidden, buried beneath the weight of centuries, but the mysteries of the past continue to draw us in, inviting us to look deeper, to wonder about the people who left these monumental structures behind. What do they still have to teach us about the way they saw the world, and what might yet be uncovered, waiting for us to find it? As we move further across the globe, leaving behind the megalithic tombs and stone structures of Europe, we find ourselves on a remote island in the heart of the Pacific Ocean. The island of Tonga, a small but historically rich archipelago, is home to one of the most enigmatic structures of the ancient world, the Ha'amonga, a Maui Trilithon. This massive stone gateway, standing on the island of Tongatapu, has long intrigued scholars, explorers, and locals alike. Despite its relative isolation, the Trilithon has withstood the tests of time, remaining a silent sentinel over the landscape and offering few clues to the culture that created it. What was its purpose? Who built it? And how did they manage to erect such an immense structure with the tools and knowledge available to them at the time? The Ha'amonga, a Maui, is a striking and visually compelling monument. Standing at around 5 meters in height, the Trilithon consists of 3 enormous coral limestone blocks, 2 vertical stones that support a massive horizontal capstone, creating a simple yet powerful gateway. To the casual observer, the structure might seem like little more than a primitive arch, yet it speaks of something much deeper, a mystery that challenges our understanding of the people who lived on these islands thousands of years ago. The sheer size of the stones, some weighing several tons, and the precision with which they are arranged suggest a level of sophistication that goes beyond what we typically associate with early Polynesian societies. The traditional view of the Ha'amonga, a Maui, is that it was built around 1200 BC, possibly by the early Tongan people, as part of their religious or ceremonial practices. Local legends tell the story of the god Maui, who, in one version of the myth, is said to have created the Trilithon as a gift to the people. The story is rich with symbolism, with Maui often depicted as a trickster god, a demigod who could shape the world with his mighty deeds. According to the myth, Maui used his supernatural strength to lift the massive stones and place them in alignment, a tale that echoes the stories of other ancient cultures where gods were said to have been responsible for the construction of monumental sites. But is this myth simply a metaphor for the extraordinary feats of engineering involved in erecting the Ha'amonga, a Maui? Or does it contain an element of truth, perhaps a clue to a lost knowledge or technique that was once known to the people of Tonga? In the absence of written records, much of the understanding of the Trilithon's purpose comes from these oral traditions and the physical structure itself. Archaeologists and researchers have speculated that the Ha'amonga, a Maui, might have had several functions. Some believe it was a symbol of power and prestige, marking the entrance to the residence of a high-ranking ruler or leader, such as a king or chief. Its location, near a network of ancient burial mounds, suggests that it might have had a ritualistic function as well, serving as a gateway between the living and the dead, or as part of an ancient burial complex. The idea that the Trilithon was a ceremonial structure aligns with the way many ancient cultures used stone monuments to mark significant life events or to establish connections between the terrestrial and the spiritual. Others, however, suggest that the Ha'amonga, a Maui, may have been used as a kind of astronomical marker. Its alignment with the surrounding landscape and the changing positions of the sun and stars at different times of the year could indicate that it was used to track the passage of time, marking important solar events such as the solstices or equinoxes. This theory is further supported by the fact that many other megalithic sites around the world, such as those at Stonehenge or in the ancient Maya cities, seem to serve similar functions, acting as markers of the celestial rhythms that governed life. Could the Ha'amonga, a Maui, have been an ancient observatory, a structure created to help the people of Tonga align their rituals and agricultural activities with the cycles of the sun and stars? Yet, even with these theories, the Ha'amonga, a Maui, still leaves us with many questions. One of the most striking features of the Trilithon is its scale. How did the early Polynesians, with their limited tools and technology, manage to quarry, transport, and position stones that weigh several tons? It is important to note that the Tongan Islands, like many parts of the Pacific, are not rich in the kind of large, workable stone that would typically be used for such monumental construction. The stones used to create the Ha'amonga, a Maui, were sourced from distant coral reefs, suggesting that the people of Tonga possessed a remarkable understanding of the landscape and had the ability to transport massive stones over long distances. Some have speculated that advanced knowledge of rope techniques, levers, and pulleys might have been used, but without definitive evidence, the methods of construction remain an open mystery. There is also the question of the Trilithon's function. Was it simply a marker, a symbolic structure to honor the gods and the ancestors? Or did it serve a more practical purpose, perhaps as part of a larger network of sacred sites that the Polynesians used to orient themselves within their world? The fact that similar structures can be found throughout Polynesia suggests that the Ha'amonga, a Maui, might have been part of a broader cultural or religious movement, one that spanned the islands and united the people through shared beliefs and practices. Could the Ha'amonga, a Maui, have been a common point of reference, a physical and spiritual landmark that helped guide people on their journeys, both literal and metaphorical? There is even more speculation surrounding the purpose of the Trilithon when one considers the Tongan belief system and the role that the supernatural played in their daily lives. Polynesian cultures, including the Tongans, had an intricate cosmology that involved gods, spirits, and ancestors. Could the Ha'amonga, a Maui, have been seen as a gateway to another realm? A physical manifestation of the divine forces that controlled the universe? Or was it simply a tool for marking the passage of time, used in conjunction with the people's knowledge of the stars and the seasons? The Ha'amonga, a Maui Trilithon, is a powerful reminder that the mysteries of ancient construction are not confined to the great civilizations of the Old World. This monument, built on a remote island in the Pacific, offers us a window into the minds of a people who were just as capable of monumental feats as those who built Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt. The Trilithon stands as a symbol of what has been lost, a monument to a culture that knew how to shape the world with nothing but their hands and the natural materials they could find. As we look at the Ha'amonga, a Maui, we are left with a profound sense of wonder. Its purpose, its construction, and its cultural significance remain largely elusive. The myths, the legends, and the physical evidence all point to a people who understood their world in ways that modern science is only beginning to understand. The Trilithon, like so many other ancient structures, continues to challenge our assumptions and invite us to ask, what knowledge lies hidden in the stones, waiting for us to discover it? What lessons from the past have yet to be uncovered, and how much more is still waiting to be found, just beneath the surface of history? As we leave behind the great stone structures of the Pacific and the mysteries they hold, we travel across continents to the island nation of Sri Lanka, where another enigmatic monument rises from the earth. Towering above the surrounding jungle, the Sigiriya rock fortress is a place that has captured the imagination of travelers, historians, and explorers for centuries. More than just a fortress, Sigiriya is a work of art, an engineering marvel, and a profound testament to the ingenuity of its creators. Yet, as with so many ancient sites, it remains shrouded in mystery. What was its true purpose? How did it come to be? And why was it built in such an unlikely location? Sigiriya is not just an ordinary rock. It is a massive, isolated column of rock, standing nearly 200 meters, 660 feet tall, rising dramatically from the flat terrain surrounding it. The rock itself is a natural formation, the remnant of an ancient volcano, but what was built upon it is something far more extraordinary. At the summit of Sigiriya, a complex of buildings, gardens, and defenses was constructed over 1,000 years ago during the 5th century BC under the reign of King Kashyapa. Today, the ruins at the top of the rock still tell a tale of royal ambition, but the site's purpose and the methods of construction remain subjects of intense debate. To reach the summit of Sigiriya, visitors must ascend a series of steep, narrow staircases, passing through a series of remarkable features. One of the most striking is the pair of colossal lion's paws, the remnants of a larger lion structure that once guarded the entrance to the rock fortress. The lion's paws are all that remain of a grand entrance, where visitors would have passed between the jaws of a massive lion, a symbol of both power and majesty. This dramatic entrance hints at the symbolism and artistry that permeate the entire site. But the lion's paws also raise questions. Why was such a grand structure needed here, in the middle of a remote jungle? And why such a powerful animalistic symbol? Was it meant to invoke the power of the lion, a creature that is often associated with strength and kingship? Or was it something more? Perhaps a symbol of divine protection or guardianship over the king's stronghold. Beyond the lion's paws, the path winds upward to a series of frescoes, preserved on the walls of the rock. These ancient paintings, which once adorned the walls of Sigiriya, are famous for their vivid colors and graceful depictions of women, often referred to as the Sigiriya maidens. These frescoes are among the most well-known features of Sigiriya, but their meaning remains elusive. Are they merely decorative, or do they represent something more significant? Perhaps a religious or ritualistic function. Some have suggested that the women depicted in the paintings are celestial beings or nymphs, representing a connection between the earthly realm and the divine. Others have argued that the frescoes may have had a more mundane purpose, perhaps serving as symbols of the king's power, or as representations of the royal court. Whatever their meaning, the frescoes only deepen the mystery of Sigiriya, hinting at a culture and belief system that we can barely understand today. As one ascends further, the ruins of the summit come into view, where the ancient palace once stood. The space at the top of Sigiriya is expansive and carefully planned, featuring pools, gardens, and terraced walls, a remarkable feat of engineering given the rock's steep and challenging terrain. The design of the summit suggests a high degree of sophistication, a testament to the advanced knowledge of architecture and urban planning possessed by the people who built it. How, with the limited tools and resources available, did they manage to carve out such a complex and functioning space atop such a sheer rock? One of the most intriguing aspects of Sigiriya is the question of how the builders managed to transport the materials needed to construct such a fortress. The surrounding jungle provides little in the way of natural building resources, so how were the necessary stones, timber, and materials brought to the summit? Archaeologists have suggested that a sophisticated system of ramps and scaffolding may have been used, but there is little direct evidence to explain the techniques that would have been employed. The fact that such a colossal structure could be built atop such an isolated rock remains a mystery in itself. More curious still is the broader question of why Sigiriya was built. The fortress has long been associated with King Kashyapa, who, according to legend, built it as a stronghold after seizing the throne from his father. The story goes that Kashyapa's reign was marked by paranoia and a desire to protect himself from potential enemies, and so he sought to create an impregnable fortress high in the sky, far from the reach of any would-be assassins. But is this all there is to the story of Sigiriya? Was it simply a fortress, a palace, or something more? Some historians and archaeologists suggest that Sigiriya might have had a ceremonial or religious function as well. The careful design of the site, with its gardens and water features, as well as the celestial frescoes, suggests that it could have also served as a spiritual or ritual center. Was Sigiriya, in its entirety, a representation of the cosmic order, a microcosm of the world below and above, with the king at its center, reigning over both the physical and spiritual realms? There are also theories that Sigiriya was not merely a royal palace, but a sacred site dedicated to a specific deity or deities. Some scholars suggest that the site may have been intended as a focal point for the worship of a god or goddess, perhaps tied to the ancient belief systems of the region. Was the fortress itself meant to align with certain astronomical events, perhaps marking the passage of time or the rise of important celestial bodies? The design of the site, with its precise alignment to the surrounding landscape and water features, hints at a deeper connection to the forces of nature, suggesting that Sigiriya may have served a purpose beyond mere defense and royal residence. Despite the various theories that surround Sigiriya, there is still much we do not know. The purpose of the site, the methods used to construct it, and the full extent of its cultural and religious significance remain subjects of intense speculation. What we do know is that Sigiriya is one of the most extraordinary examples of ancient engineering, art, and architecture, and its mystery continues to captivate those who seek to understand the world of the ancient Sri Lankans. Standing atop Sigiriya today, looking out over the jungle below, it is impossible not to feel a sense of awe and wonder at what was once built here. The sheer scale of the fortress, the intricacy of its design, and the unanswered questions that swirl around it only serve to deepen the mystery. What was Sigiriya truly meant to represent? A royal residence, a fortress, a place of spiritual power, or something else entirely? And what, if anything, remains hidden beneath its stones, waiting to be discovered? As we gaze upon this ancient monument, we are left with more questions than answers. The mystery of Sigiriya is far from solved, and as with so many ancient sites, it invites us to look deeper, to seek out the secrets that have long been buried by time. What might still be waiting, just out of reach, in the shadows of history? As we leave behind the awe-inspiring Sigiriya, with its ancient mysteries etched in stone, we shift our gaze to a far more remote region of the world. Tucked away in the arid landscapes of Oman, a vast and ancient necropolis awaits, the Al-Khutm and Al-Ain burial sites. This sprawling cemetery, located in the Dhofar Governorate, is not just a place of the dead, but a testament to a civilization whose intricate rituals and practices have long since faded into the sands of time. Despite the evidence of its significance, the necropolis remains one of the most mysterious archaeological sites in the Arabian Peninsula. The Al-Khutm and Al-Ain necropolis are a haunting sight, sprawling across the desert in an area rich with history. The land is marked by hundreds of circular tombs, some large and others smaller, scattered across the barren landscape like forgotten sentinels. The structures, known as beehive tombs because of their conical, stone-built shape, resemble ancient fortresses of the dead, rising from the earth in isolated silence. These tombs, constructed from dry stone masonry, stand as a remarkable achievement of craftsmanship, surviving for over 2,000 years, yet little is known about the people who built them or the civilization to which they belonged. The necropolis covers a vast area, and yet, despite its size, it was only rediscovered in the late 20th century, a fact that adds to its mystique. Archaeologists estimate that the tombs date back to the late Bronze Age, approximately 2000 BC to 1300 BC, placing them at the height of an ancient period when trade and cultural exchange were thriving across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. The tombs were used primarily for burial, but the exact customs of the people who built them remain unclear. Were these tombs reserved for royalty, warriors, or religious figures, as some scholars suggest? Or were they part of a broader, more egalitarian burial tradition? One of the most striking features of the necropolis is the design of the tombs. Each structure consists of a central burial chamber, surrounded by a circular wall of stone. Some of the larger tombs include an elaborate system of chambers and passageways, while others are more straightforward in their construction. What is particularly remarkable is the consistency in design across the tombs. Despite the varying sizes, the core principles of their construction remain the same. The stones, though heavy and difficult to transport, were carefully stacked to create an airtight seal that has allowed the tombs to remain remarkably intact over the millennia. Yet, there is something puzzling about these tombs. Why were they built in such a manner? The beehive design is not found in other ancient burial sites in the region, raising the question of whether these tombs were influenced by an outside culture, or whether they represent something entirely unique to this part of the Arabian Peninsula. Given the relative isolation of Oman in ancient times, it is intriguing that such sophisticated and striking tombs would emerge in this region. Was there an advanced knowledge of architecture and construction among the people who built them, or did the design emerge from a much older, now forgotten tradition? Inside some of the tombs, archaeologists have found a variety of grave goods, including pottery, weapons, and tools, suggesting that the people buried there held significant status in their community. But the presence of these items raises another question. What was the purpose of these items, and why were they buried with the dead? Were they meant to accompany the deceased on their journey to the afterlife, as seen in other ancient burial practices? Or did they serve a symbolic purpose, signifying the importance of the individual in life and death? Some have proposed that these objects might have been offerings to gods or spirits, ensuring protection or favor for the deceased in the afterlife. Others speculate that the burial practices may have had ritualistic significance, perhaps marking the transition from one stage of life to the next in a society deeply concerned with spiritual matters. The role of religion in the construction of these tombs is another area of deep mystery. What deities or spiritual beliefs did the people of the Al-Khutm and Al-Ain necropolis follow? The burial goods found within the tombs suggest a connection to the supernatural or divine, yet there is no clear evidence of what those beliefs might have been. Some scholars suggest that the people may have practiced a form of ancestor worship, where the tombs served not only as a final resting place, but as a shrine to the ancestors, a way for the living to maintain a connection with the deceased. Others believe that the tombs may have had a more astronomical or cosmological purpose, aligned in such a way that they could mark celestial events or the passage of time. The question of the tomb's construction also remains perplexing. The stones used in the tombs, while locally sourced, are often of immense size, and the construction process itself would have required significant planning and resources. The knowledge required to stack the stones in such a precise manner, creating the signature beehive shape, suggests that the people who built the necropolis possessed a sophisticated understanding of engineering and geometry. How did they achieve such precision? Did they have tools or methods lost to time, or was there an ancient, now forgotten technology at play? Given the scale of the construction, it is difficult to imagine that these were mere individual burial sites. Instead, they appear to have been part of a grander architectural and social vision. As we delve deeper into the Al-Khutm and Al-Ain necropolis, we are drawn to the unanswered questions that still linger in the desert air. What was the true significance of these tombs? Were they simply burial sites, or were they markers of something much larger? A representation of social hierarchy, religious belief, or perhaps something more cosmological? Were they aligned with the stars or the sun, marking significant events in the celestial calendar, or were they designed purely for earthly purposes? The tomb's precise design and their distinctiveness suggest that the people who built them were part of a highly organized society with advanced knowledge in both construction and ritual. Today, as the Al-Khutm and Al-Ayn necropolis sits quietly in the desert, the winds of time have erased much of its story. Yet, the tombs still stand as silent witnesses to an ancient culture, a reminder of the people who lived and died in this desolate yet beautiful part of the world. Their purpose remains unknown, but their legacy endures. What did these tombs mean to the people who built them? What were they trying to communicate with their intricate design and their carefully chosen burial goods? And what, if anything, still lies hidden in the shadows of these ancient tombs, waiting to be uncovered by the next generation of explorers? As we stand in the midst of this forgotten necropolis, we are reminded that not all mysteries can be solved, and that some questions, like the sands of time itself, may never be answered. What we do know is that the Al-Khutm and Al-Ayn necropolis is a site that invites reflection, not just on the past, but on the enduring human desire to understand our place in the universe and to leave something behind that speaks to those who come after us. As we leave behind the ancient tombs and enigmatic necropolises of the Arabian Peninsula, we turn our attention to a remote and lesser-known corner of the world, the windswept Orkney Islands in northern Scotland. Here, in the solitude of a desolate landscape, there stands an ancient stone that continues to mystify those who encounter it. The Dwarfie Stane. A solitary monolith, weathered by centuries of harsh winds and relentless tides, the Dwarfie Stane remains one of the most intriguing and baffling ancient structures in the British Isles. It is a monument that seems to defy explanation, its purpose and origins as obscure as the mist that often cloaks the island. The Dwarfie Stane is not just any stone. It is a massive, hollowed-out block of sandstone, measuring approximately 2.5 meters, 8 feet, high, and nearly 4 meters, 13 feet, long, with an interior chamber that has been carved into its core. The stone, which rests on the island of Hoi, part of the Orkney archipelago, appears almost as though it has been intentionally shaped by human hands. The hollow interior is large enough to accommodate a person, and the entrance is marked by a narrow opening, an ancient doorway that leads into the dark, cool interior. From the outside, the stone looks like a simple boulder, but inside it reveals something far more unusual, a space that, for reasons unknown, has been carved out of the solid rock. This hollow stone has long been a source of fascination, but also of confusion. The Dwarfie Stane has been linked to a number of different theories, ranging from its being a tomb to being a ritualistic or ceremonial site, or even a dwelling of some kind. Some scholars have suggested that it might have been used as a burial chamber, similar to the chambered cairns found throughout the Orkney Islands, which served as communal tombs during the Neolithic period. Yet, there is no definitive evidence to support this hypothesis. No human remains have ever been found inside the Dwarfie Stane, and its design does not match the typical characteristics of other burial sites from the same era. The lack of a proper burial arrangement, as well as the absence of grave goods, complicates the theory that it was simply a tomb. So, what was the Dwarfie Stane actually for? Could it have been a dwelling? The idea that the stone could have been used as a living space is an intriguing one. The hollowed-out interior is certainly large enough to shelter a person, and the opening could easily have been covered by a door or seal, providing some degree of protection from the elements. The isolation of the Dwarfie Stane, perched on a remote island, adds another layer of mystery to this theory. Was it a place of refuge, a shelter built for a solitary figure, perhaps someone with a specific connection to the spiritual or religious beliefs of the time? The thought of this stone being a home for a hermit, a religious figure, or a recluse seems plausible, but again, there is no solid evidence to confirm such a theory. Other theories suggest that the Dwarfie Stane may have served a more ritualistic or ceremonial purpose. In fact, many ancient cultures around the world constructed hollowed-out stones, often for religious or spiritual purposes. Could the Dwarfie Stane have been a site for offerings, prayers, or sacred rituals? Some have speculated that the hollow stone could have been used as a portal of sorts, a space where people could enter in order to connect with the spiritual world or to seek guidance from the gods. The fact that the entrance to the chamber is narrow and the space within is enclosed and intimate adds to the notion that this stone might have served as a place for meditation, prayer, or personal reflection. Was it a place where individuals sought divine favor or spiritual insight? Was the isolation of the stone an essential part of its function, a way to separate those who entered from the rest of the world, creating a liminal space between the mundane and the sacred? The construction of the Dwarfie Stane itself is equally enigmatic. The stone is not simply a naturally occurring formation that has been hollowed out by wind and water. It is clear that human hands shaped it, carving out a smooth, cylindrical chamber within its core. But how was it done? The tools required to carve such a structure are not easily explained, especially considering the time period in which the stone is believed to have been constructed. Most estimates place the construction of the Dwarfie Stane in the Neolithic period, possibly around 3000 BC to 2500 BC. At this time, people had not yet developed the advanced metallurgy that would have allowed for the construction of large-scale stone tools. Yet the precision of the carving suggests that the builders possessed a highly developed understanding of both stonework and engineering. One intriguing aspect of the Dwarfie Stane is the fact that it bears resemblance to other megalithic structures found in the region, such as the Stennis and ring of Brodgar stone circles on Orkney. These sites are believed to have been used for astronomical or ceremonial purposes, with the stones potentially aligned with the movements of the sun or stars. Could the Dwarfie Stane have had a similar function? Was it designed to align with certain celestial events, marking the passage of time or the changing of seasons? The idea that the stone might have been part of a larger network of sacred sites, each aligned to the heavens, is an enticing possibility. Yet, even with all the speculation, the true purpose of the Dwarfie Stane remains elusive. Was it a tomb, a dwelling, a ceremonial site, or something entirely different? The lack of any conclusive evidence leaves us with more questions than answers. The stone stands as a silent enigma, a solitary sentinel that invites us to contemplate the mysteries of the past. Who were the people who built it? What did they believe? What drove them to carve a chamber into a massive stone, and why was it left in such an isolated, remote place? Perhaps the most intriguing question is not what the Dwarfie Stane was, but what it continues to represent. In a world where history often feels distant and lost, this ancient stone offers us a tangible connection to the past, a reminder of a people who left behind not just a physical structure, but a symbol of their creativity, their beliefs, and their understanding of the world around them. The stone invites us to ponder what might have been, and to imagine the lives of those who lived in the shadow of the Dwarfie Stane. Standing before the Dwarfie Stane today, it is impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The mystery it holds seems to transcend time, calling us to look beyond the surface and into the heart of an ancient world that still has so much left to teach us. The stone is not just an object. It is a question, one that may never be fully answered. And perhaps that is its greatest legacy, standing as a testament to the mysteries that still lie hidden in the world, waiting for us to uncover, to understand, and to learn from. What else might still be hidden in the ancient landscape, waiting to be discovered? What other stones, carved with the knowledge and beliefs of long-forgotten peoples, remain out of reach, their secrets buried deep beneath the earth? Leaving behind the solitary stone of the Dwarfie Stane, we now turn our attention to another, lesser-known marvel, one hidden deep in the heart of Central Asia. The Sarazm stone complex, nestled in what is now Tajikistan, is a site that has captured the curiosity of archaeologists and researchers for decades. Despite being relatively unknown to the broader public, this complex is not only one of the oldest known settlements in the region, but also a place that continues to elude a clear understanding of its full purpose and significance. What was its role in the ancient world? And why, after thousands of years, does it still hold so many unanswered questions? The Sarazm stone complex is not just a single stone or monument, but a sprawling archaeological site that stretches across an area of several square kilometers. At its heart lies an extensive series of standing stones, some of which appear to have been deliberately arranged in patterns that suggest a sophisticated understanding of both geometry and astronomy. Unlike the typical stone circles or menhirs found across Europe, these stones are part of a broader ceremonial and residential complex, providing clues to the advanced urban planning that existed in this region over 5,000 years ago. What makes the Sarazm site particularly intriguing is not only its age, dating back to around 2200 BC, but also the fact that it represents an early example of urban life in the Central Asian steppes. The complex is believed to have served as a major trading hub during the early Bronze Age, a place where nomadic tribes met to exchange goods, ideas, and perhaps even beliefs. As such, it provides a rare glimpse into the early development of civilization in a region that often gets overshadowed by the more famous ancient centers of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. The standing stones themselves are varied in size and shape, with some standing upright while others are scattered in more irregular formations. The most striking feature of the site, however, is the quality of the carvings and the symbols found on these stones. Some of them are adorned with intricate motifs, which appear to represent both geometric shapes and symbolic figures. These symbols are unlike those seen in other contemporary cultures in the region, suggesting that the people who lived here possessed their own distinct form of communication or writing. The presence of such carvings raises questions. Were these stones simply markers for the settlement, or did they serve a more spiritual or ritualistic purpose? Could these carvings be part of a larger religious system, perhaps representing gods, spirits, or celestial bodies? Interestingly, some of the motifs on the stones resemble astronomical symbols, leading some researchers to speculate that the people of Sarazm may have had an advanced knowledge of the stars. The alignment of some of the stones, as well as their positioning within the settlement, hints at a possible connection to celestial events such as solstices or equinoxes. Could the stones have been used for astronomical observation? Were they markers for significant events in the agricultural calendar, such as the planting or harvesting seasons? Or were they part of a more spiritual or ritualistic practice, perhaps marking the passage of time in a way that integrated the cosmos with the everyday lives of the people? As intriguing as the carvings and alignments are, the most mysterious aspect of the Sarazm complex is its sudden disappearance. Archaeological evidence suggests that the site was abandoned around 1700 BC, leaving behind only the remnants of the standing stones and a few other artifacts. What caused the people of Sarazm to abandon such a sophisticated and strategically located settlement? Was it the result of a natural disaster, such as a flood or earthquake, or did the people simply migrate to other regions, perhaps in response to changing climate conditions or shifting trade routes? Some theorists have suggested that the abandonment could be linked to the rise of new cultures in the region, or to internal conflict, but these remain speculative explanations, with no definitive evidence to confirm them. The mystery of Sarazm deepens when we consider the layout of the complex. Was it purely functional, designed to facilitate trade and social interactions? Or was there a deeper, hidden purpose behind the arrangement of the stones and the buildings? Some archaeologists have suggested that the stone complex might have been a type of ceremonial center, a place where rituals were performed that connected the people to forces beyond the physical world. The carvings on the stones could very well be part of this ritual, intended to convey messages to the gods or to mark important cosmological events. And yet, even as we explore these theories, one thing remains clear. The true purpose of Sarazm remains shrouded in mystery. While we can make educated guesses based on the artifacts and the layout of the site, much about the complex's function, its culture, and its sudden abandonment remains unknown. What was its role in the broader network of ancient trade and cultural exchange? How did the people of Sarazm view their place in the cosmos? And how did that worldview influence the architecture and design of their stone complex? What was lost when the site was abandoned, and what might still be hidden in the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered? As we leave Sarazm behind, we are left with these questions that are as much about our understanding of the past as they are about the mysteries that still lie ahead. In the quiet of the site, amidst the standing stones and the forgotten remnants of ancient civilization, we are reminded that history is not a simple story to be told in full. Sometimes it is a riddle, waiting for the right mind to unlock its secrets. What more could we discover if we dared to look deeper into the stones of Sarazm? What might still be hidden beneath the surface, waiting to tell us its story? As we leave behind the secrets of the Sarazm stone complex, we travel westward to the wind-swept hills of Ireland, where an ancient monument stands, its purpose and meaning still a subject of much debate. The Creevykeel Court tomb, situated in County Leitrim, is one of the largest and most well-preserved examples of a court tomb in the British Isles. But despite its imposing size and impressive construction, the tomb remains a mystery. Its exact purpose, the people who built it, and the rituals performed within its walls all elude us. What did the builders of Creevykeel intend? And why does this tomb, along with others like it, continue to provoke so many unanswered questions about the ancient peoples of Ireland? The Creevykeel Court tomb is an architectural marvel constructed sometime around 4000 to 3000 BC. The site consists of a long, rectangular cairn or stone mound surrounded by a wide, open court. This court, which gives the tomb its name, is flanked by several chambers, each once used for burial. The structure is built with large megalithic stones, some weighing several tons, which were transported from miles away. These stones are arranged with remarkable precision, their surfaces flat and carefully aligned. The overall effect is both awe-inspiring and humbling. The sheer scale of the construction, along with the care taken in placing each stone, suggests that the people who built it possessed advanced knowledge of engineering and a deep understanding of the forces of nature. Yet, for all its grandeur, the Creevykeel tomb is also a place of deep mystery. The tomb's layout is not random. It is carefully designed, with specific chambers placed in strategic locations around the central court. The exact function of these chambers, however, is unclear. Were they used to house the dead in a way similar to other ancient burial practices? Or did they serve some other, more ritualistic or ceremonial purpose? Archaeologists have found evidence of human remains inside some of the chambers, but there are no accompanying burial goods, as one might expect from a typical tomb. No weapons, pottery, or jewelry have been uncovered. This absence of grave offerings has led some researchers to question whether Creevykeel was a tomb at all, or whether it had a more symbolic function. The court itself also adds to the intrigue. Unlike other tombs, which typically have a clear entrance leading into the burial chambers, the Creevykeel tomb is open to the sky, with no defined entrance. Could this openness suggest that the tomb was designed not just for burial, but for some form of public or communal ritual? Perhaps the Creevykeel tomb was a place where the living and the dead coexisted, where rituals to honor ancestors were conducted not in private, but as part of a larger communal experience. The court, open and exposed to the elements, seems to invite such speculation. Was it intended as a gathering space for the living, a place where people came together to honor the dead and perhaps to ask for guidance from their ancestors. Another aspect of the Creevykeel tomb that remains mysterious is its alignment. The tomb is not oriented in any typical or obvious direction. There are no clear alignments with the cardinal points, such as north or south, as we often find with other megalithic structures like Stonehenge. Instead, the placement of the tomb seems to be connected to the surrounding landscape, with the cairn and court strategically positioned to take advantage of the natural features of the land. The tomb appears to be in a direct line with a distant hill, suggesting that the builders may have had a particular landscape in mind, or that the structure was meant to be aligned with specific topographical features. Could the placement of the tomb be linked to astronomy or cosmology, as is often the case with other ancient structures? Some researchers speculate that the tomb's position in relation to the landscape could have had symbolic significance. Did the ancient people of Ireland see the landscape itself as a reflection of the heavens? Was the tomb aligned with the rising or setting of certain stars or celestial events, as with other ancient burial sites that were designed to capture the movement of the sun, moon, or stars? Perhaps the Creevykeel tomb was a site where the cycles of nature were mirrored in the architecture, and where the dead were believed to journey into the stars themselves. Even the construction of the tomb raises questions. How did the builders, lacking advanced technology or machinery, transport the enormous stones used in the tomb's construction? Some of the stones in the cairn are so large that they would have been difficult to move even with modern equipment. The precision with which the stones were placed and the effort that must have gone into their transportation suggests that the people of this time were far more capable in engineering and logistics than we might assume. Did they have a knowledge of ropes, pulleys, or other techniques that have been lost to time? Or was there some other explanation for how the builders were able to move such massive stones across the landscape? The absence of a clear burial tradition, along with the lack of grave goods, has led some to propose that Creevykeel was not a tomb in the conventional sense, but rather a site where people gathered for other, more ritualistic or symbolic purposes. Was it a ceremonial center, a site for astronomical observation, or perhaps a place where the living engaged with the dead in a way that is difficult for us to understand today? The lack of definitive evidence leaves the door open for a range of possibilities, and the true purpose of the Creevykeel tomb remains as elusive as the meanings embedded in the carvings of other ancient monuments. The absence of clear answers forces us to think about the people who built the Creevykeel tomb and what their motivations might have been. What kind of worldview did they hold? Were they seeking to connect with the divine, to honor the dead, or to align themselves with the forces of nature in a more profound way? The tomb's open court and its mysterious alignment with the landscape suggest a belief system that may have integrated both the earthly and the celestial. Perhaps the tomb was not only a place of burial, but a way for the living to reach out to the world beyond, through ritual, through astronomy, through a connection to the land itself. As we stand before the Creevykeel court tomb today, we are reminded of how little we truly know about the ancient peoples who constructed such marvels. The tomb is not just an architectural wonder, it is a riddle wrapped in stone, a symbol of a time and culture that remain just beyond our grasp. What did the people of Creevykeel understand about the cosmos, the land, and the afterlife that we do not? What beliefs did they hold, and how did those beliefs shape the way they built their world? The answers may never come fully into focus, but the questions they raise will continue to haunt us, inviting further exploration into the mystery of who we were and who we might yet become. In the quiet shadow of Creevykeel, one is left with a lingering thought. Perhaps some ancient truths are meant to remain hidden, waiting for us to uncover them in due time. Or perhaps they remain elusive because the answers lie not just in the stones, but in the questions themselves. As we leave the shadows of the Creevykeel court tomb, we journey further east, crossing vast landscapes to reach an isolated corner of the Russian Arctic, where a strange and enigmatic set of labyrinths exists. These are the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths, a series of intricate stone formations on the remote island of Bolshoi Zayatsky, situated in the White Sea. Though the labyrinths themselves are relatively small in scale, the mystery they present is anything but. These ancient structures, which stretch across the northernmost reaches of Europe, hold secrets that have yet to be fully understood, offering clues about the distant past, clues that remain tantalizingly out of reach. The Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths are not the type of labyrinths one might expect from ancient Greece, with their long, winding corridors designed to confound and trap. Instead, these labyrinths are simple, yet striking, arrangements of stones laid out in geometric patterns on the ground. Some are circular, others oval, and still more appear as complex, multi-armed figures. The largest of these labyrinths measures about 20 meters in diameter, but it is their unique designs and their placement in such a remote part of the world that make them so intriguing. These labyrinths were constructed from large, flat stones, some weighing several tons, arranged with a precision that suggests a deliberate and sophisticated understanding of construction, even in the harshest of environments. The island of Bolshoi Zayatsky itself, located in the White Sea's Solovetsky archipelago, has long been a place of mystery. The labyrinths are believed to date back to the Neolithic period, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, though some researchers argue that they may be even older. The exact purpose of the labyrinths remains unclear. Some archaeologists believe that they were built for religious or ceremonial purposes, perhaps linked to ancient shamanistic practices or other spiritual rituals. The fact that the labyrinths are not connected to any known settlements or other signs of daily life suggests that their function was likely symbolic, connected to spiritual beliefs rather than practical needs. But the precise nature of these beliefs remains a mystery. The geography of the site adds another layer of intrigue. Bolshoi Zayatsky is not a place that is easy to access, even by today's standards. It is a small, desolate island in the northern Arctic, surrounded by the icy waters of the White Sea. The climate is harsh, with freezing temperatures and long winters. For a people to choose such a remote location for the construction of elaborate stone structures suggests a deep connection to the land, the sea, or perhaps the cosmos. Could the labyrinths have been built as part of a larger spiritual journey, with the island serving as a sacred space? Or were the labyrinths designed to represent the cyclical nature of the universe, with their winding paths symbolizing the journey of life, death, and rebirth? These questions remain unanswered, as the site offers few clues as to its original purpose. One of the most captivating aspects of the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths is their alignment with the natural landscape. The island itself is relatively flat, but the labyrinths are arranged in such a way that they appear to interact with the surrounding environment. Some are placed in locations that suggest an awareness of the path of the sun, with the stones potentially aligning to key moments in the solar year, such as solstices or equinoxes. This has led some to speculate that the labyrinths were part of an early astronomical observatory, or that they were used in rituals that marked the changing of the seasons. Could the people who built these labyrinths have had a sophisticated understanding of the stars, similar to other ancient cultures that created stone circles or monuments aligned with celestial events? At the same time, the mysterious geometry of the labyrinths suggests that they may have been more than just simple markers of the landscape. Their patterns are not random. They exhibit a deliberate and carefully planned design. The circular and spiral motifs found in the labyrinths are symbols that appear throughout human history, from ancient Greece to Native American cultures. These shapes are often associated with concepts of unity, eternity, and the cyclical nature of existence. In the case of the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths, they may have been intended as a form of symbolic representation, perhaps depicting the journey of the soul or the steps taken in a ritual of passage. Could these labyrinths have been intended to guide the soul through an afterlife, much like the Egyptian pyramids or the burial mounds of other ancient cultures? Yet despite all the speculation, there is no definitive explanation for the purpose of these labyrinths. No records exist that could explain why they were built or what they were meant to represent. Unlike other ancient monuments, such as the Egyptian pyramids or the megalithic sites of Stonehenge, the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths leave us with few clues beyond their shape and alignment. Some have even suggested that these labyrinths could be connected to ancient ceremonial paths or pilgrimages, places where rituals were performed to honor the natural world or to connect with divine forces. However, the lack of any accompanying artifacts, such as tools, pottery, or human remains, makes these theories difficult to confirm. One question that continues to loom over the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths is the question of who built them. Archaeological evidence suggests that the island was inhabited by early human groups who practiced a form of hunter-gatherer lifestyle. These people lived in relative isolation, far removed from the more advanced civilizations of the time, such as those in Mesopotamia or the Indus Valley. So, who were the people who constructed these labyrinths? Were they part of a larger cultural tradition that extended across northern Europe, or were they an isolated group with unique beliefs and practices? The origins of the labyrinths remain as elusive as their purpose. Despite all the unanswered questions, the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths continue to inspire wonder and intrigue. They stand as silent witnesses to a time long past, offering us a glimpse into a world that is now lost to history. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not their purpose, but the fact that they have survived for thousands of years in such a harsh and unforgiving environment. What can we learn from the builders of these labyrinths? What did they know about the world that we have since forgotten? As we stand before the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths today, we are left with a sense of awe and curiosity. The labyrinths, with their intricate designs and mysterious purpose, invite us to explore the deep connections between humanity, the natural world, and the cosmos. They are a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the enduring mystery of ancient belief systems. What other hidden structures and symbols lie buried in the landscape, waiting for us to uncover their secrets? What else might the labyrinths reveal if we continue to search for answers, following their winding paths into the depths of the past? The mystery remains, and perhaps that is exactly how it was meant to be. Moving from the enigmatic stone labyrinths of Bolshoi Zayatsky, we find ourselves traveling to the vast arid deserts of the United Arab Emirates, where another ancient mystery waits to be uncovered. The Healy Archaeological Park sits quietly amidst the modern city of Al Ain, a world apart from the bustling streets that surround it. Here, in the heart of the UAE, a series of ancient structures, tombs, settlements, and standing stones bear silent witness to a civilization long forgotten. The Healy Archaeological Park offers a glimpse into a time when the desert was not a barren expanse, but a thriving region of human activity, trade, and culture. The park, one of the most significant archaeological sites in the Arabian Peninsula, stretches over several square kilometers, with the oldest structures dating back to the 3rd millennium BC. The site is famous for its tombs, which are arranged in distinct clusters, some of which date back more than 5,000 years. These tombs, often referred to as Healy tombs, are among the oldest and best preserved in the region. They are typically circular or rectangular in shape and are constructed from large stones, some of which are intricately stacked to form burial chambers that would have once held the remains of the deceased. Over time, these tombs have been eroded by the relentless desert winds, but they still retain their majestic forms, standing as silent reminders of a distant era. What is striking about the Healy Archaeological Park is not just the age of the tombs, but the manner in which they were constructed. The precision and thoughtfulness of the design suggest a high level of sophistication for a people who, at the time, would have had access to relatively simple tools and techniques. The tombs are arranged in groups, sometimes with large burial mounds surrounding them, and often with stones arranged in such a way that they form patterns or alignments that may have had ritualistic or symbolic significance. There are also stone pillars and other standing stones scattered across the site, some of which are thought to have been part of ceremonial or religious practices. The hilly archaeological park offers more than just an insight into burial practices. It also sheds light on the early social and cultural structures of the region. The people who built the tombs in Hili are believed to have been part of a complex society engaged in trade, agriculture, and other activities that would have linked them to the broader ancient world. The presence of pottery, tools, and other artifacts at the site suggests that Hili was not just a place of death, but also a place of life, a community where people lived, worked, and interacted with one another in ways that are still not fully understood. But there is a certain mystery that lingers over the Hili Archaeological Park. While we know that these tombs were used for burial, the precise beliefs and rituals surrounding death in this ancient culture remain unclear. Some researchers have speculated that the tombs were part of a larger burial tradition, perhaps designed to honor the dead and ensure their safe passage into the afterlife. The arrangement of the tombs, particularly their alignment and positioning within the landscape, suggests that the ancient people of Hili may have had a deep understanding of the natural world and celestial phenomena. Could these tombs have been designed to align with specific stars, the movement of the sun, or other celestial bodies? Were the dead placed in these tombs in a way that was intended to facilitate their journey to the afterlife, perhaps guided by the stars or by certain natural forces? The artifacts found at the Hili site also suggest a society deeply connected to the wider world, with trade links extending as far as Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Pottery found at the site bears striking similarities to that of ancient civilizations in these regions, hinting at a complex network of trade and cultural exchange that existed thousands of years ago. Some archaeologists have even speculated that Hili may have been a trading hub, a crossroads where goods and ideas flowed between East and West. Could the people of Hili have played a more significant role in ancient history than we have yet come to understand? Were they involved in the spread of ideas, technologies, and religious practices that influenced other ancient civilizations? Despite the clear evidence of trade and cultural exchange, however, there are still many aspects of the Hili Archaeological Park that remain mysterious. One of the most striking features of the site is the presence of a large number of standing stones. These stones are scattered throughout the site, some arranged in formations that suggest deliberate patterns, others standing alone. The purpose of these stones is unclear. Were they simply markers for the tombs, or did they have a deeper, more spiritual significance? In many ancient cultures, standing stones were used as symbols of power, or as markers for important locations. Could these stones have been part of a religious or astronomical observance, marking key events in the lunar or solar calendar? Some have even suggested that these stones could have served as a form of early writing, though no inscriptions or carvings have been found on them to support this theory. The alignment of the tombs and standing stones is another area that has captured the interest of researchers. Some tombs are oriented in such a way that they seem to align with particular points on the horizon, suggesting that the builders of Hili may have had an advanced knowledge of the stars and celestial events. This has led to speculation that the site was used for astronomical observation, or that the tombs and stones were part of a larger system of celestial symbolism. Were the tombs and stones designed to mark the passage of time, or to track the movements of celestial bodies? Or were they part of a larger ritualistic practice aimed at connecting the living with the cosmic forces that governed their world? Perhaps one of the most puzzling aspects of Hili is the sudden disappearance of the civilization that built it. The tombs and structures at the site suggest a society that was both sophisticated and interconnected, but by the time of the rise of Islam in the 7th century AD, the culture that had built Hili had largely vanished. What happened to the people of Hili? Did they abandon the site for reasons that remain unknown, or was there a sudden, catastrophic event that caused their disappearance? Some researchers have suggested that the decline of the Hili culture may have been linked to climate change, while others believe that it may have been the result of shifting trade routes or internal strife. Regardless of the cause, the disappearance of this once thriving society adds an air of mystery to the site, leaving us to wonder what may have been lost to history. The Hili Archaeological Park stands as a testament to the complexity and depth of human history in the Arabian Peninsula. Its tombs and standing stones offer us a glimpse into a civilization that is long gone, but whose legacy lives on in the artifacts and structures they left behind. Yet, as with so many ancient sites, the full story of Hili remains tantalizingly out of reach. The tombs, the stones, and the artifacts raise more questions than answers. What did the people of Hili believe? How did they live? And what ultimately led to their disappearance? The answers to these questions may never come fully into focus, but the mystery remains, waiting for those willing to look deeper into the past and seek the hidden stories of those who walked this land long before us. As we step away from the sun-scorched stones of the Hili Archaeological Park, we find ourselves transported to the rolling, mist-covered hills of France, to a place where the whispers of ancient rituals echo through the air. Here, in the village of Bagneux, lies a structure that has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and curious visitors for centuries. The Dolmen de Bagneux, a massive megalithic tomb, stands as a reminder of a time long past, yet its true purpose remains cloaked in mystery. The Dolmen de Bagneux is located in the picturesque region of Normandy, nestled amidst a lush green landscape that seems almost untouched by time. It is an imposing structure, a megalithic tomb that dates back to around 3000 BC. Constructed with enormous stones, some weighing several tons, it is an example of the kind of burial architecture that was common in Neolithic Europe. The dolmen consists of a large capstone, placed on top of several upright stones, forming a chambered tomb. This tomb, like many others of its kind, was originally covered by a mound of earth, though much of the mound has since eroded away, leaving only the stone skeleton behind. What makes the Dolmen de Bagneux especially intriguing is not just its size or its construction, but the questions it raises. Unlike other megalithic structures, there is no clear evidence of the people who built it, nor is there a definitive explanation of its purpose. The dolmen is part of a larger network of similar burial sites scattered throughout the region, suggesting that it was part of a broader cultural tradition. Yet, much about this tradition remains enigmatic. Were these structures used solely for burial, or did they have other, perhaps more ceremonial functions? Was the dolmen intended as a place of worship, a gathering site for rituals, or a representation of the relationship between the living and the dead? As we examine the Dolmen de Bagneux more closely, we begin to notice something unusual about its construction. While most dolmens are oriented in a specific direction, often aligned with the rising or setting sun, or with certain celestial events, Bagneux does not seem to follow any predictable pattern. Some researchers have suggested that the dolmen is aligned with the solstices, but the evidence for this is inconclusive. The lack of a clear celestial alignment leads some to wonder whether the dolmen's creators had other reasons for its positioning, perhaps linked to the topography of the land or to some now forgotten ritual practice. The chamber inside the Dolmen de Bagneux is not particularly large, but it is impressively constructed. The capstone that sits atop the structure is a massive stone, measuring over 3 meters in length. It is difficult to imagine how the builders managed to transport such enormous stones, considering that the region's forests would not have provided an obvious source of such materials. Some scholars suggest that the stones were brought from nearby quarries, while others propose that the stones were dragged across the landscape using rudimentary tools and manpower. The effort required to move these stones, let alone position them with such precision, speaks to the incredible engineering capabilities of the people who constructed this tomb. How did they achieve such a feat without the use of advanced technology? And why go to such lengths to create a structure that, by its very nature, would remain hidden underground? Perhaps the most striking feature of the Dolmen de Bagneux is the mystery surrounding the people who built it. Archaeological evidence from the surrounding area points to the existence of a thriving Neolithic community, but little is known about their culture, beliefs, or social structure. Who were these people, and what did they believe about death and the afterlife? The tombs they left behind seem to suggest a deep reverence for the dead, but there are no written records to tell us exactly how they viewed the world beyond the grave. Were these dolmens intended as gateways to the afterlife, or were they part of a more elaborate ritualistic system? Did the people of Bagneux believe that the spirits of the dead remained close by, watching over the living? Or was the tomb merely a place to house the deceased, with no further spiritual significance? Some have speculated that the dolmen's design and location may offer clues to its true purpose. The stone chamber, with its heavy, flat capstone, may have been intended to mimic the appearance of a house or shelter, reflecting the belief that the dead would need a safe, protected space in which to rest. The capstone, which forms the roof of the tomb, could have been seen as a protective shield, ensuring that the deceased would remain undisturbed. In this sense, the dolmen might have served as more than just a tomb. It could have been seen as a place where the living and the dead coexisted, a threshold between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Another intriguing aspect of the Dolmen de Bagneux is the lack of burial goods or artifacts found within the tomb. Most Neolithic tombs contain pottery, weapons, or other items meant to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. Yet, the Dolmen de Bagneux has yielded few such items. This absence of grave goods has led some researchers to question the nature of the tomb. Was it a tomb at all, or could it have served a different function? Some have suggested that the dolmen was used for communal rituals rather than individual burials. Could it have been a site where offerings were made to the gods, or where important ceremonies took place to honor the dead? If the people of Bagneux did not use the tomb as a final resting place for the deceased, what then was its purpose? While the purpose of the Dolmen de Bagneux remains uncertain, there are some theories that point to its role in a wider system of megalithic constructions across Europe. Similar tombs, standing stones, and ceremonial sites can be found in other parts of France, as well as in Britain, Spain, and Portugal. These sites seem to share certain features, such as their alignment with the sun and their use of large stones, suggesting that the people who built them were part of a larger cultural or religious movement. Could the Dolmen de Bagneux be part of a network of sites designed to track celestial events? Or were they part of a larger ritual system meant to connect the living with the cosmos? As we reflect on the Dolmen de Bagneux and its many mysteries, we are left with more questions than answers. Its precise purpose remains hidden, as does the identity of the people who constructed it. Was it a tomb? A temple? A site for ritual ceremonies? The absence of clear evidence leaves room for speculation, but the truth remains elusive, buried beneath the stones that have stood silent for thousands of years. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to stay hidden, preserved in the landscape as silent witnesses to a forgotten past. Standing before the Dolmen de Bagneux, we are reminded of the fleeting nature of human history. In the quiet, mist-filled air of this ancient burial site, we are confronted with the realization that much of the past remains shrouded in mystery. The dolmen, like many of the ancient structures we have encountered on this journey, speaks to us from across the millennia, a reminder of the ingenuity, faith, and mystery of those who came before. What secrets do these stones hold? What have we yet to learn about the people who built them? Perhaps the answers lie not in the stones themselves, but in the questions they continue to provoke. As we transition from the quiet resonance of Dolmen de Bagneux to the high Andes mountains of Peru, we find ourselves immersed in the unique and puzzling landscape of Sayhuite. Nestled amidst the arid valleys of the southern Peruvian highlands, the Sayhuite stone labyrinth stands as a monument to a civilization long gone, one that has left behind a legacy wrapped in mystery. Like so many other ancient sites, its purpose and meaning remain an enigma. What makes the labyrinth particularly intriguing, however, is its combination of seemingly purposeful design and its apparent connection to water, a vital and symbolic element that has fascinated scholars and researchers for centuries. The labyrinth at Sayhuite is located near the small village of the same name, tucked away in the district of Andahuaylilas, roughly 50 miles from the city of Cusco. The site is marked by an extraordinary complex of stone carvings, channels, and geometric patterns carved into the hillside. The labyrinth itself, while not a labyrinth in the traditional sense of a winding maze, is composed of over 200 polished stone structures that resemble channels, fountains, and pools, some of which are still functional today. These features suggest a system that might have been used for water distribution, irrigation, or ceremonial purposes, yet their exact function remains unclear. The most striking feature of the site is the intricate network of water channels, which run through the labyrinth in a way that appears both deliberate and symbolic. Scholars have debated the purpose of these channels for years. Were they part of an advanced irrigation system, designed to sustain the agricultural needs of the surrounding area? Or did they hold a deeper, more spiritual significance, an attempt by the ancients to connect with the forces of nature, to bring water and life to the barren highlands? The more one studies Sayhuite, the more it becomes clear that this site is not just a functional agricultural system, but something far more complex. At first glance, the labyrinth might seem like an oddity, an isolated relic from the past. But when we consider the role of water in the ancient world, especially in regions as arid as the Andes, the symbolism of the site begins to take on a more profound meaning. Water has always been a life-giving force, revered in nearly every culture, often seen as a sacred element that connects the earthly and spiritual realms. In the case of Sayhuite, it's not just the water's practical utility that demands attention, but the way it is channeled, directed, and controlled through the stone labyrinth. The placement and design of the channels seem intentional, as if the ancients believed that the flow of water could be manipulated or harnessed for purposes beyond simple irrigation. The stone labyrinths at Sayhuite are unlike any other known archaeological site in South America. The most notable feature is the intricate network of channels and carved fountains that were likely used to direct water into various pools and terraces. These channels and fountains are carved from stone in such a way that they seem to follow an ordered sequence, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of hydraulics. Some researchers believe that the site may have been used for religious or ceremonial purposes, particularly given the importance of water in the region's spiritual beliefs. Could these stone structures have been designed to symbolize a journey, one that guides the flow of water from the natural world to the sacred? If so, what was the nature of the ritual or belief system that gave rise to such an elaborate system? The question of whether Sayhuite had a purely practical or more spiritual function remains unanswered. Some scholars lean towards the idea that the labyrinth was primarily a form of water management. The surrounding region of Andahuaylilas is known for its arid climate, and irrigation would have been essential for farming. Given the complexity of the stone structures, it's plausible that the labyrinth was used to channel and distribute water across the land, helping crops flourish in a landscape that might otherwise have been inhospitable to agriculture. The precision with which the stones are carved and the way they channel water through the labyrinth suggests that the builders of Sayhuite had a remarkable understanding of fluid dynamics and engineering. But even as the practicality of Sayhuite cannot be denied, there are those who argue that it was far more than just an irrigation system. The alignment of the labyrinth, with its intricate stone carvings and symbolic patterns, hints at a possible connection to ancient cosmologies and spiritual beliefs. Could the labyrinth have been designed not only to channel water, but to serve as a conduit for the soul? The spiral design that marks many of the channels and fountains is an ancient symbol found in many cultures, representing the journey of the spirit or the cyclical nature of life. In this context, the Sayhuite labyrinth may have been intended as a physical and symbolic pathway, guiding both water and spirit in an eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. There is also speculation that the labyrinth could have had a ceremonial function, possibly linked to agricultural rites. In the highlands of Peru, many ancient civilizations held rituals to honor the gods of water and agriculture, as well as to ensure the fertility of the land. The placement of the labyrinth and its connection to water could suggest that the site was used in such ceremonies. Were the labyrinth's intricate channels and fountains intended to represent a ritualized process of renewal, where water, as a sacred and life-giving force, was brought from the heavens to the earth? Could the labyrinths have symbolized the pathway of the gods, leading from the natural world to the divine, guiding both the physical flow of water and the spiritual flow of energy? Another layer of mystery at Sayhuite is the method of construction itself. The site's designers, thought to belong to the pre-Incan Wari culture, would have had limited access to the advanced tools that would be expected of such a sophisticated hydraulic system. The precision with which the channels are carved and aligned, some of which even appear to adjust to the shifting landscape and natural contours of the land, suggests an advanced knowledge of engineering that seems out of place for the time period. How did the Wari people manage to carve and shape these enormous stones with such accuracy? Did they have specialized tools, or was their craftsmanship the result of a deeper, more ancient tradition of stoneworking passed down over generations? Interestingly, Sayhuite is not an isolated site in the Andes region. Other pre-Columbian cultures, such as the Nazca and the Moche, are known for their use of water-based rituals and monumental architecture. However, Sayhuite stands apart due to its labyrinthine design. The complexity of the site has led some to speculate that it could have been part of a larger network of ceremonial or irrigation sites, perhaps connected by an even broader system of sacred water routes that linked the Andean highlands with the coast. If this is true, what other hidden sites might still remain undiscovered, waiting to be unearthed and studied? While many aspects of Sayhuite remain speculative, it is clear that the site holds a profound significance. Its unique design, the intricate network of water channels, and the symbolic connection to both the natural and the spiritual realms suggest that the labyrinth was much more than just a simple irrigation system. It was a monument to human ingenuity, to an ancient culture's understanding of the cosmos and their deep reverence for the forces that sustained their lives. In the end, the Sayhuite stone labyrinth leaves us with more questions than answers. Was it a ritual center, an agricultural marvel, or something entirely different? Perhaps a fusion of all these elements. The absence of clear written records only deepens the mystery, making Sayhuite one of the most captivating archaeological enigmas of the Andes. What role did water play in the religious and agricultural practices of the Wari people? What, if anything, do the labyrinth's intricate designs reveal about their view of the universe? As we stand before the stone channels, the spirals carved into the rock, and the faint echoes of ancient rituals that might have been performed here, we are left wondering, how much more is yet to be uncovered in the vast, forgotten corners of the world? What secrets does Sayhuite still hold beneath its weathered stones, waiting for us to uncover? The mystery remains, an intricate, winding path leading us closer to the heart of ancient wisdom. After delving into the mysteries of Sayhuite's intricate stone labyrinths, we now journey across the sea to the rugged coastline of northwestern France, to the village of Locmariaquer. Here, in a serene yet enigmatic landscape, lies one of the largest megalithic structures in all of Europe, the Locmariaquer Grand Menhir Base. This towering structure, a remnant of a long-gone civilization, rises out of the earth like a forgotten giant, its purpose and the story of its creators lost to time. As with many ancient megaliths, the answers to the questions it raises seem just out of reach, wrapped in an enduring mystery that has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and seekers alike. The Grand Menhir was once a massive upright stone, part of an ancient monument that stood nearly 20 meters tall and weighed an estimated 350 tons, an awe-inspiring feat of prehistoric engineering. Today, only its base remains visible, lying in the soft Breton earth like a colossal fossil of an ancient age. The broken fragments of the menhir lie scattered across the site, hinting at the grandeur of what once stood here. With its sheer size, the Locmariaquer Grand Menhir would have been a sight to behold, dominating the landscape and visible from miles around. But while it's clear that this structure was significant in some way, what was its true purpose? What role did it play in the lives of the people who built it? And how did they manage to transport and erect such an enormous stone? The construction of megalithic structures like the Grand Menhir has long intrigued scholars. The sheer physical scale of the stones, and the fact that they were often transported from quarries miles away, raises questions about the methods used to move and erect them. The people of the Neolithic era did not have the wheel, nor did they have the cranes or machinery that we rely on today. How did they transport stones that weighed hundreds of tons, and how did they raise them so high into the air? Some believe that simple tools like levers, ropes, and wooden sleds might have been employed, while others suggest that more advanced techniques were used, perhaps knowledge passed down through lost traditions. Could it be that the builders of the Locmariaquer Grand Menhir possessed knowledge that has since been forgotten, techniques that have yet to be rediscovered by modern science? Even more perplexing is the role that the Grand Menhir played in the social and spiritual life of its creators. Was it purely a functional marker, a territorial boundary, or a monument to a powerful leader? Or did it serve a more profound purpose, connecting the earthly realm to the celestial? Its alignment with the surrounding landscape suggests it may have been part of a larger ritualistic system. The people who built it likely possessed a deep understanding of astronomy, as evidenced by their construction of other megalithic sites that align with celestial events. Could this menhir have been used to mark the passage of the sun, the phases of the moon, or some other important event in the sky? If so, was it a symbol of life, death, and rebirth, tying the earthly world to the divine? The Locmariaquer Grand Menhir's scale suggests that it was a site of great importance. It is believed to have been erected by the Karnak culture, a Neolithic people who flourished in this region around 4,500 BC. The menhir, like others of its kind, was likely part of a larger complex of megalithic sites, including dolmens and stone circles. The region surrounding Locmariaquer is home to an extraordinary concentration of megaliths, and it's clear that the people who lived here were not only skilled builders, but deeply invested in their spiritual and cultural practices. What motivated them to create such monumental structures, and what did they hope to achieve? Were these stones a way to commune with the gods, or perhaps a means of asserting control over the natural forces around them? Or could the Grand Menhir have been a monument to the dead, a gateway between the living and the spirit world? While these questions remain unanswered, we are left to piece together the clues that remain. The fact that the Grand Menhir was broken into several pieces suggests that it may have been intentionally dismantled at some point in its history. Was this a symbolic act, an attempt to end the menhir's power, or was it part of a ritual? Many ancient cultures had traditions of breaking or defacing their sacred monuments, perhaps as a way to signal the end of one era and the beginning of another. Could the dismantling of the grand menhir have been tied to a shift in the spiritual or political landscape of the time, a moment when the old gods were replaced by new beliefs? Some researchers have proposed that the grand menhir was not just a static monument, but part of a dynamic system of megalithic structures that functioned together. According to this theory, the menhir may have been part of a larger ceremonial complex, with the stones serving as markers of ritualistic pathways. These pathways could have been aligned with astronomical events, guiding participants in ceremonial processions or rites. Was the grand menhir positioned to align with the rising or setting of the sun at specific times of the year, or was it part of a more intricate calendar system used by the ancient inhabitants of the region? In exploring these possibilities, it's essential to consider the fact that the grand menhir sits within a larger landscape filled with other enigmatic monuments, including the famous Karnak stones, a vast field of megaliths that stretches across the region. The Karnak stones themselves are arranged in long parallel rows, a formation that has sparked much speculation. Some believe that these stones served as a giant calendar, while others suggest that they were used in rituals of fertility, or perhaps to honor the dead. Could the Lokmariakwer Grand Menhir have been part of this larger network of stones, serving as a key marker in a spiritual or astronomical system? Beyond the practical explanations, there's another layer to the mystery of the Grand Menhir that has intrigued historians for generations: its symbolic significance. Many ancient cultures revered stone as a sacred substance, a material that connected the physical world with the spiritual. In some traditions, large stones were seen as living beings, imbued with a kind of consciousness that linked them to the gods. Could the builders of the Grand Menhir have viewed the stone as a living entity, and did they imbue it with spiritual significance as a way to honor the forces of nature? The precise alignment and careful placement of the menhir might suggest a belief in the stone's ability to channel divine power, to connect the earth with the heavens. What we do know is that the Lokmariakwer Grand Menhir was a testament to the ingenuity, spiritual devotion, and resourcefulness of its creators. In the same way that the massive stones of Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt continue to inspire awe, the Grand Menhir serves as a reminder of an ancient culture whose legacy endures through the stones they left behind. Yet, the exact purpose of these structures remains elusive. Were they simply markers of territory, or did they represent something more profound? A cosmic map, a spiritual guide, a marker of life and death? The purpose of the Grand Menhir, like many ancient structures, remains open to interpretation. As we stand before the base of this enormous stone, surrounded by the scattered remnants of its former glory, we are reminded that the answers we seek may be buried beneath the weight of history. And yet, even in the absence of definitive answers, there is a sense of wonder that persists, an understanding that the menhir, like so many other ancient monuments, was built with a purpose beyond what we can fully grasp. The mystery of the Lokmariakwer Grand Menhir lingers, like a riddle left unsolved, leaving us to ponder what may yet be hidden in the stones and the earth. How much do we really understand about the ancient civilizations that once thrived in places like Lokmariakwer? What knowledge has been lost to time, and what secrets still lie dormant, waiting for us to uncover? Perhaps, like the stone itself, the answers will remain elusive for now, but the questions, those will continue to echo across the centuries. As we shift our focus from the monumental Lokmariakwer Grand Menhir in France, we now travel to the green, rolling hills of northern England, where another extraordinary megalithic site awaits. Here, amidst the quiet beauty of the Cumbrian landscape, stands the ancient stone circle known as Long Meg and Her Daughters. Unlike the familiar symmetry of Stonehenge or the precision of the Karnak stones, Long Meg presents a more enigmatic and perplexing arrangement, one that has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and even modern-day mystics for centuries. What was its purpose? How did it come to be? And, most intriguingly, why was it built with such intent, yet left in a state that invites more questions than answers? The site itself is located near the village of Little Salkeld, nestled in the heart of the Eden Valley. It is a large, open area, dotted with a series of upright stones, the tallest of which, known as Long Meg, stands an impressive 3.6 meters tall. Surrounded by a circle of 59 smaller stones, Long Meg and Her Daughters forms a distinct, if somewhat unconventional, megalithic complex. The sheer scale of the arrangement, especially in relation to the size of the stones themselves, commands attention. There is something strikingly deliberate about the way these stones are arranged, as though they were placed with purpose, marking something significant within the landscape. Yet, for all the precision of their placement, the circle defies easy explanation. Long Meg, the central stone, is a towering slab of red sandstone, carved with a series of geometric symbols and carvings that have intrigued and mystified researchers for centuries. The carvings are not typical of other megalithic sites and feature intricate spirals, zigzags, and a series of what might be interpreted as cup marks, a recurring feature in many stone sites across Britain and Europe. These marks are often associated with ritualistic or religious practices, though their exact meaning has been lost over time. What might these carvings signify? Are they part of a complex cosmological system, a form of early writing, or a symbolic language meant to convey messages to the gods or spirits? In addition to the enigmatic markings, the stone circle itself holds more secrets. The arrangement of the stones is not symmetrical in the way one might expect from a typical Neolithic site. Rather than being positioned in a perfect ring, the stones form a more irregular ellipse, which has led to various interpretations of its meaning. Some believe it may have had an astronomical function, similar to the great stone circles at Stonehenge or Avebury, perhaps aligning with the solstices or other celestial events. But the lack of clear alignment with any significant solar or lunar events leaves this theory unproven. Could the layout of the stones have served another purpose entirely? Was it a ceremonial space, a place for rituals of fertility, death, or the passage of time? Or did it represent something more abstract, perhaps a map of the heavens, or a representation of the earth itself? While mainstream archaeology tends to focus on the idea that Long Meg and Her Daughters was primarily a ritualistic or ceremonial site, the speculative theories surrounding the structure are vast and varied. Some claim that it was an astronomical observatory, with the stones marking the path of the sun or the stars. Others suggest it might have had a more spiritual or metaphysical function, representing the union of the earthly and the divine. Given the nature of the carvings on Long Meg, some even entertain the idea that the site might have been connected to an early form of astronomical calendar or a type of sacred geometry, long before such systems were formally developed in other ancient cultures. There are those who have also linked the site to ancient myths and folklore. Long Meg, with her towering presence, seems to command the landscape, and local legends have long depicted her as a supernatural figure. Some believe that she was once a woman, cursed to be turned to stone for some unknown transgression. Others suggest she represents a goddess or mother figure, overseeing the sacred circle of her daughters, each of the smaller stones representing her daughters or the elements of nature. Such stories often blend the line between myth and history, adding another layer of intrigue to a site already shrouded in mystery. Despite these tantalizing theories, there is no consensus on what exactly Long Meg and Her Daughters was meant to symbolize. It has been suggested that the site could be as old as 3,500 BC, placing it within the Neolithic or early Bronze Age, though some even speculate that it could be older, perhaps dating back to a time when the landscape itself was radically different. The fact that the stones are weathered and worn, many of them broken, cracked, or displaced, only adds to the sense that something ancient has been lost over the millennia. The surviving stones, though impressive in size and scale, are but a fraction of what might have once been a far grander monument. Perhaps even more perplexing than the stones themselves is the question of their construction. How did the builders, without the sophisticated tools or machinery that we have today, manage to transport and erect stones weighing several tons? The central stone, Long Meg, is particularly heavy and would have required an enormous amount of effort to move and position. Some researchers suggest that simple tools, such as wooden rollers and sleds, might have been used to transport the stones, but the precision with which they were placed suggests a level of coordination and knowledge that seems out of reach for the time. Was there some hidden technique, perhaps known only to the ancients, that allowed them to move these massive stones with such ease? The very act of constructing Long Meg and Her Daughters raises another intriguing question. Why did the builders of this site go to such great lengths? What were they trying to accomplish? In a world where survival was paramount, why dedicate so much time, effort, and resources to creating a structure of such scale and significance? Was it a statement of power or prestige, or was it something more spiritual, a lasting symbol of a belief system that transcended the material world? As with many ancient megalithic sites, the function of Long Meg and Her Daughters may never be fully understood. And yet, that very mystery is part of what makes the site so compelling. It stands as a testament to the ancient people who constructed it, people whose worldviews, spiritual practices, and cultural systems remain hidden from us. The story of Long Meg, like the rest of the megalithic structures scattered across the British Isles and Europe, is a story lost to time. Yet, even in the absence of concrete answers, the questions persist, inviting us to explore further, to dig deeper, and to consider the possibility that there are truths hidden within the earth, truths that might reveal the remarkable capabilities of our distant ancestors. Why was Long Meg chosen to stand alone, taller and more prominent than the others, as the central figure in this mysterious circle? What significance did the smaller stones, the daughters, hold in the grand scheme of the site? Was there a ritual enacted here, one that aligned with celestial events, marking the passage of time, the changing seasons, or the cycles of life and death? Or could it be that, like so many other ancient structures, Long Meg and Her Daughters held a meaning that transcends time, one that still lingers, waiting to be uncovered? As we leave the stone circle behind and continue our exploration of ancient monuments, we are left with a sense of awe and wonder. Long Meg and Her Daughters may not have the clarity or fame of other megalithic structures, but its mystery persists. What we know is only a fragment of the full story, and perhaps, in the end, that is enough. The silence of these stones speaks to us, urging us to look deeper and wonder, what other truths from the past remain buried, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? As we journey from the enigmatic stones of Long Meg and Her Daughters, we find ourselves moving eastward toward the high mountain slopes of southeastern Turkey. Here, at the summit of Mount Nemrut, stands one of the most awe-inspiring and mysterious ancient structures in the world, the Nemrut Dağ Sanctuary. This colossal site, perched high above the plains, is a blend of monumental architecture, enigmatic statues, and lost history. Standing at 2,150 meters above sea level, Nemrut Dağ is as much a place of spiritual significance as it is an enigma that continues to defy easy interpretation. The site is dominated by the remains of a vast funerary complex, thought to have been built in the 1st century BC by King Antiochus I of Commagene. This ancient kingdom, once a powerful force between the Roman and Parthian empires, has left behind one of the most breathtaking and perplexing monuments to royal power ever constructed. At the top of Mount Nemrut, the sanctuary is set within a huge artificial mound, thought to be the burial place of King Antiochus himself. The mound, which rises nearly 50 meters above the surrounding landscape, contains a tomb, though it has never been fully excavated. But what truly captures the imagination are the massive stone statues and reliefs that line the mountaintop, some of which are over 10 meters tall. The figures, composed of large blocks of limestone, represent a fascinating blend of both Greek and Persian deities, all grouped around the central figure of Antiochus himself. The most striking of these statues are the colossal heads of gods and kings, strewn across the summit like giants' broken relics, some still seated on their massive thrones. These larger-than-life heads, representing gods like Zeus, Apollo, and Hades, have a haunting presence, their expressions frozen in stone for millennia. Their bodies, now lost, have crumbled over time, leaving behind only these heads to stare down upon the mountaintop and the visitors who dare to approach. Some of these statues have been deliberately broken and toppled, a mystery that only adds to the site's allure. The sheer scale of the statues and their intricate design suggests a level of craftsmanship and architectural planning that is difficult to comprehend. Each statue's features are rendered with remarkable precision, and the expressions of the gods seem to convey both power and serenity. The alignment of these statues with the rising and setting sun also raises fascinating questions. Some scholars speculate that the statues were strategically placed to create specific lighting effects during solstices or equinoxes. Could the site have been designed to allow the rays of the sun to illuminate the faces of the gods and kings during sacred rituals or celestial events? Was it an attempt to merge the divine with the physical world, creating a space where heaven and earth could meet? Despite the grandeur of the site, however, many aspects of Nemrut Dağ remain shrouded in mystery. The exact purpose of the sanctuary, for example, is still not fully understood. Was it primarily a royal tomb, a place for religious worship, or something else entirely? Some believe that the statues represent the king's attempt to immortalize himself and his divine ancestors, combining elements of both Hellenistic and Persian religious traditions. The influence of both Greek and Iranian culture is evident in the style of the statues, suggesting that Antiochus I, the king who commissioned the construction, was trying to fuse these two great civilizations to bolster his own claim to power and divine favor. But why go to such lengths to construct this massive, remote complex? And why was it built atop a mountain, a place difficult to reach and even harder to protect? Was the location chosen to symbolize the king's connection to the heavens, or was it intended as a secretive, hidden space where only the most privileged could gather and pay tribute? Adding to the intrigue is the mystery surrounding the tomb itself. While the mound atop Mount Nemrut is widely believed to be the burial site of Antiochus I, no definitive proof has ever been found. The tomb has never been fully excavated, and the contents of the mound remain an enigma. Archaeological investigations have been conducted over the years, but no one has yet uncovered the remains of the king or any definitive artifacts that could shed light on his final resting place. Could it be that the tomb still contains treasures, royal relics, or inscriptions that might reveal the secrets of Antiochus I and his kingdom? Or has time, along with the ravages of history, claimed all that was once hidden beneath the mound? The reason for this lack of excavation may lie in the delicate state of the site. The sanctuary and its surroundings have been preserved with remarkable care, and many have speculated that the Turkish authorities may be hesitant to fully explore the tomb for fear of damaging the site or disturbing the ancient remains. This careful balance between preservation and exploration only deepens the mystery. As with many ancient structures, there is a tension between the desire to uncover the secrets of the past and the need to protect the integrity of these remarkable monuments. There are also questions regarding the symbolic meanings behind the figures and reliefs at Nemrut Dağ. The statues of the gods seem to represent an eclectic mix of cultural and religious influences, perhaps reflecting the syncretism of the Hellenistic and Persian traditions under which Antiochus I ruled. The presence of deities from both pantheons, along with the king's own image, suggests that Nemrut Dağ was not merely a place of royal power, but also a spiritual center, a place where multiple beliefs coexisted and intermingled. Was this a symbol of Antiochus I's own divine rule, an attempt to combine the power of gods and kings into one unified vision? Or was it a site designed to celebrate the connection between the natural world and the divine? The inscriptions around the statues further complicate the picture. On the east terrace, where several of the largest statues stand, there are detailed inscriptions in both Greek and Aramaic, revealing the complex blend of languages and cultures in the region at the time. These inscriptions extol the virtues of Antiochus I and his divine ancestry, but they also hint at something more, something that has yet to be fully deciphered. Could these inscriptions contain hidden messages or codes, perhaps revealing a more profound understanding of the cosmos or the afterlife? Many have speculated that the carvings may contain astronomical or astrological references, suggesting that Nemrut Dağ was more than just a royal tomb. It was a place where the heavens themselves were represented on earth. Was Antiochus I trying to establish a divine connection between the terrestrial and celestial realms? There is also the question of why the statues were destroyed. In antiquity, it was common for ancient monuments to be defaced or destroyed by later rulers or invaders, often as a way of erasing the power of the previous regime. Could the toppled statues of Nemrut Dağ be a result of political upheaval or conquest, a way for later rulers to undermine the divine claims of Antiochus I? Or is there a more symbolic meaning behind the destruction? Could the statues have been deliberately broken in a ritualistic act, a symbolic tearing down of the old in order to make way for the new? The vastness and complexity of Nemrut Dağ invite numerous interpretations, each as plausible as the next, yet none fully answer the questions that swirl around this ancient site. Was it a royal burial complex, a place of divine power, or an astronomical observatory? Perhaps it was all of these things, designed to unite the physical, the spiritual, and the celestial in one monumental site. But as we stand at the foot of the great statues, gazing up at their weathered faces, we are reminded of the limits of our understanding. The truth of Nemrut Dağ is still hidden beneath the stones and the broken heads, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. In the meantime, the mountain continues to stand, silent and steadfast, as it has for over 2 millennia, holding its secrets close to its chest. After our exploration of the Nemrut Dağ sanctuary, we journey further across the vast expanse of ancient civilizations, this time to the highlands of Peru. Perched atop the Andes, where the clouds weave around the mountain peaks and the mist clings to the ancient stones, lies another remarkable but enigmatic monument, the Kuelap Fortress. This sprawling complex, often referred to as the Machu Picchu of the North, has confounded archaeologists and historians for decades. With its imposing walls, its labyrinthine layout, and the seemingly impossible construction methods used to create it, Kuelap continues to captivate the imagination of those who encounter it. Yet, despite its prominence as one of the most significant archaeological sites in South America, many questions remain unanswered about its true purpose, origin, and eventual decline. Located in the mountainous region of Chachapoyas in northern Peru, the Kuelap Fortress sits at an altitude of over 3,000 meters, an awe-inspiring feat of architecture that requires visitors to navigate steep, winding paths before finally reaching its summit. The fortress is surrounded by dense cloud forests, where ancient trees stretch their branches high above the stone walls, creating an atmosphere of quiet mystery. When the clouds part for a brief moment, the true scale of Kuelap reveals itself, an enormous complex of towering stone walls, circular structures, and narrow passageways that seem to stretch endlessly across the mountaintop. The views from the fortress are breathtaking, as the surrounding valleys and mountains unfold beneath your feet, offering a dramatic contrast between the fortress's imposing presence and the natural beauty of its surroundings. Despite its grandeur, the purpose of Kuelap remains a mystery. The fortress was built by the Chachapoya people, a civilization that thrived in the Andean highlands between 900 and 1400 AD, long before the rise of the Inca Empire. The Chachapoya, often referred to as the warriors of the clouds, left behind no written records, making it difficult to piece together the exact motivations behind their monumental construction. The fortress is thought to have served as a religious, political, or defensive center, though the precise role it played in Chachapoya society is still debated by experts. Was it a stronghold, designed to protect the people from invading forces? Or was it a ceremonial center, a sacred space where the Chachapoya performed rituals to honor their gods? Perhaps it was a blend of both, a fortress designed to protect the elite, while also serving as a symbolic center for the spiritual and cultural life of the people. The sheer scale of Kuelap makes it clear that it was no ordinary settlement. The fortress covers an area of approximately 600 meters by 400 meters, enclosed by massive stone walls that rise up to 20 meters in places. These walls, constructed from tightly fitted limestone blocks, have withstood centuries of weathering and erosion. Unlike the typical rectangular or square layouts of many ancient sites, the walls of Kuelap are arranged in a series of concentric terraces, each one slightly elevated from the one below it. The complex consists of over 400 structures, most of which are circular or oval in shape, with a few rectangular buildings interspersed among them. This circular design is a notable feature of the site, and it has led some researchers to speculate that the structure may have had astronomical or symbolic significance. Could the circular layout represent the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, common themes in many ancient cultures? Or was it simply a practical design, one that served the needs of the inhabitants by maximizing the available space on the mountaintop? Another striking feature of the Kuelap Fortress is the intricacy of its construction. The Chachapoya people were skilled builders, using massive stones that were carefully cut and shaped to fit together without mortar. The precision with which these stones were placed, coupled with the fortress's sheer scale, suggests an advanced knowledge of engineering and architecture. However, the methods the Chachapoya used to transport and manipulate these large stones remain a mystery. How did the builders, working without the aid of sophisticated tools or machinery, manage to move such massive blocks of stone to the mountaintop? Some theories suggest that the stones were carved and shaped on site, while others propose that the stones were transported from quarries below using ropes, pulleys, and perhaps rudimentary sledges. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, no one has been able to definitively explain how such enormous stones were moved across such difficult terrain, particularly considering the lack of written records from the Chachapoya people. In addition to the architectural marvel of the stone walls and buildings, Kuelap is also known for its remarkable decoration. Many of the circular structures within the fortress feature intricate stone carvings and reliefs depicting figures, animals, and geometric patterns. These carvings, though weathered by centuries of rain and wind, still hint at a rich cultural and artistic tradition. Some of the most fascinating carvings depict what appear to be human faces or figures, while others are abstract designs, which may have held symbolic or ritualistic significance. What were these carvings meant to represent? Were they symbols of the gods, or were they the faces of rulers or important individuals within Chachapoya society? The lack of definitive interpretations for these carvings adds to the sense of mystery that surrounds Kuelap, a place that may have once held profound spiritual or political significance, but now exists as an enigma, its deeper meanings lost to time. Despite its grand scale and remarkable construction, Kuelap experienced a rapid and mysterious decline. By the time the Inca Empire rose to prominence in the 15th century, the Chachapoya had already abandoned the fortress. The reasons for this abandonment remain unclear, though some scholars suggest that the Inca, who eventually conquered the Chachapoya, may have played a role in the fortress's downfall. Was Kuelap abandoned because of invasion or conquest? Or were internal factors, such as climate change, resource depletion, or social upheaval, responsible for the collapse of the Chachapoya civilization? The true reasons for the decline of Kuelap are still shrouded in uncertainty, leaving us to ponder what might have happened to the people who once inhabited this mysterious mountaintop fortress. One of the most intriguing aspects of Kuelap is the ongoing debate about its purpose and significance. While most archaeologists agree that it was a major center of Chachapoya culture, the question of its role in the broader history of ancient Peru remains open. Was Kuelap a site of religious or ceremonial importance, or was it more of a defensive stronghold, built to protect the elite from outside forces? Could it have served both functions simultaneously, acting as a place of refuge and a symbol of power? And what of the surrounding landscape? Kuelap is situated in a region of breathtaking beauty, with its towering cliffs, dense cloud forests, and rushing rivers. Could the landscape itself have had spiritual significance for the Chachapoya people, who may have believed that the mountains were sacred or inhabited by gods? As we stand before the colossal walls and the crumbling statues of Kuelap, the mystery of its construction and purpose continues to captivate us. What secrets are still hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? What knowledge and wisdom did the Chachapoya people possess that we may never fully understand? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what role did Kuelap play in the larger story of the Andean world? The fortress stands, as it has for centuries, an enduring symbol of a lost civilization, one whose people and culture have been largely forgotten, yet whose legacy continues to stir the imagination of those who seek to unravel the mysteries of the past. The silence of Kuelap, like the fortress itself, is heavy with the weight of unanswered questions. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, waiting for future generations to continue the search. But as we look out over the vast expanse of the Andes, we are reminded that, no matter how much we uncover, there will always be more to discover. The past is never truly gone. It lingers just beneath the surface, waiting for those who are willing to dig deeper, to ask the questions, and to wonder what might still be hidden in the stones.